I'm addicted to the good life. Yeah, lead the way. I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. To the edge of it all. So tell your good lies, 'cause I'll find no better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies. Ooh, so tell your good lies, 'cause I'll find no better one. Ooh, susceptible now before the moment flies. It's not a problem, no, 'cause I know what I'm getting into. Yes. Yeah, and nothing can stop me. No, 'cause I'm addicted to what you and I realize. Lead the way. I follow. No need to say where we are heading now, babe. I follow to the edge of it all. So tell your good lies, 'cause I'll find a better one. Yeah, susceptible now before the moment flies. Before it flies. So tell your good lies, 'cause I'll find a better one. Susceptible now before the moment flies.
I'm just talking my ass off and I'm just muted. But we're gonna get it together. Struggle streaming. All right, guys. Thank you guys for being here tonight. Hit the like button, hit the subscribe button. Also, tonight we're not gonna have just a barbershop talk tonight. We're gonna combine the salon with the barbershop talk tonight. This is gonna be interesting. We got some ladies here who are going to come in and be a part of the conversation tonight. And I got a group of women that's gonna bring it. So I'm so glad that they are here. But I do want to say hello to CBN is in the building tonight. Black David, Von Bryant is here tonight. Beautiful Animated Speaks is here. Who else we got? Jill Scott. I was going to say Jill Scott. Jesus. Jill's Chocolate and Boutique is here tonight. Thank you for being here. Now, tonight's conversation is marriage taking a backseat to the modern agenda. My perspective on it is, I think it is. I think a lot of people are just running away from it or don't want the responsibility of it, or people are take their success over marriage, or it's a lot, and we're going to try to unpack it as much as we possibly can. But I just want to introduce you guys. Hit the like button, subscribe button if you want to give to the channel. As you can see scrolling at the bottom, if you want to give a cash app, it's at the bottom. If you want to give a super chat, you can also do that. If you want to join the channel, please do that. If you don't have any money to give or anything you want to give monetarily, go ahead and hit that like button, subscribe button, because that's worth some money to me as well. So I appreciate you guys. Now I'm going. Blooming Ebony's in the building. What's going on, girl? Little sis, what's going on? So what I want to do, I'm going to bring everybody up. They're coming up in the back. Some are here, and we're waiting on some to get here. And while we're waiting, I want to play a little groove for you guys, and we'll be right back. And when we come back, you'll see everybody on the panel. Here we go. All right, ladies and gentlemen, it's so good to be here. Now, y'all see that. Look at this panel tonight. All right, some of the other guys are coming. I think some of the guys got scared. Man, I don't know what y'all did to him. Real Precious, Coach K, and Lady Di. I mean, I don't know. But they'll be here a little bit later. But thank you guys for being here. The ladies, I'm always first. The Real Precious in the building, Coach K, Lady Di. We'll start with Real Precious. How are you tonight? Shout out your channel. And tell us how you been. How you been doing?
I'm well, thank you. I'm the Real Precious over at the Real Precious on YouTube. First, thank you so much for having me here. This is my first time on your channel, and for one, I love your music.
Appreciate it.
But over in the Real Precious, we have real conversations. We give real solutions. I have a couple of segments that I do throughout the week. Mondays we do a mixed message. Wednesdays we have a ladies' night, and on Sundays I talk about adoption. I was adopted at 9, and so we dig deeper into that conversation.
All right, thank you so much, Real Precious. Make sure you guys go over and like and subscribe and turn on that notification so when she goes live, you'll know it. All right, second in here, Coach K. How are you tonight, Shook?
I'm good. How are you all? It's good to be here. I don't have a channel, but you can catch me here most of the time. That's for sure. Good
Absolutely.
to see everyone.
Good to see you too. Good to see you too. Lady Di. Listen, Lady Di. We're going to talk about it because you posted something that just blew me away. Touched by Melanin, I think it was. Oh my God. If y'all haven't seen it, we'll talk about it in a second. But Lady Di, how are you? And shout out your channel and what you do as well.
Hey, what's up? Good to be here again. I am well. You guys can find me at Lady Di DTM, which you can see right there. You could actually search that on YouTube or any platform. TikTok, Instagram is where I'm mostly at. I do have live shows on Saturdays with my husband. We go through topics together, trending topics, and then, of course, relating to dating to marriage. We help couples find their way through that because it could be a little tough. So you could also subscribe to my channel. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Bennett is in the building tonight. Mr. Bennett, how are you? How's the family, brother?
Family is doing well. No complaints here.
All right. Thank you so much for being here, Mandrell. How are you tonight, my brother?
All right.
Always.
What you want me to say? I'm taking it day by day, man.
That's it. That's all you can do.
I like literally.
I understand.
I'm literally taking it day by day.
Well, everybody right now, everybody that's in the chat right now, put a 1 in the chat if you're giving Mandrell a virtual hug right now. Put a 1 in the chat if you're giving Mandrell a virtual hug right now. All right.
There's gonna be all zeros.
No. You're gonna see it in a minute. It's coming.
Precious, Lady Di, Coach K, and Black Man, and Mr. Bennett tell you nobody likes me.
That's not true, but you're almost like a cat. Like you don't know what you're gonna get.
Yeah,
and that's the part. And that's the part that confuses people. I'm a cat dad. I'm like, wait,
Exactly.
he's like that. He's like that, but he's like that, but he's a cat dad. I
See
don't,
now, Mandriel, we got virtual hugs from Black David, Cody is King, Mo Gaming,
those are men.
Dr. Nicole. What's wrong with
None of them count.
The Blooming Ebony.
Okay, all right,
Animated.
all right.
Grid,
okay.
Dating to be married. Is it? There we go. See, look, it's everybody's giving you a virtual hug.
Okay, now is that the dude
the
or
real
the girl?
Precious? The Real Precious gave you one.
Thank you, Real Precious.
Lady Di gave you one. Look at this. Look at the love. Look at the love. And she she gave you several. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. She gave you 6 virtual hugs, man. So you should be better.
Thank you.
When you say you need love, asking you shall receive. You know.
Yeah. I've been walking through. I feel like I've been walking through a swamp lately.
Well, come on, y'all. Let's make it a good one tonight.
Absolutely. So, guys, again, thank you for being here. As you see, the subject tonight is marriage taking a backseat to the modern agenda. You know, I always like to ask that the title question first. So we'll start with you, the Real Precious. Do you feel as if marriage is taking a backseat to the modern agenda?
I believe so. Just media alone definitely has a huge influence on the culture, on the day and age, and the climate, the relationship climate that we're in. I believe all of us up here were here before social media really was a thing. And now you have social media and you have options and you have access. And options and access isn't good when you're talking about relationships. It's just not a good thing. I'm not, for a union anyway. So I think social media definitely has played a role, and just media in general, the messages that are put out. I don't have anything against the LGBTQ community, but even more of that is put out, that divides and separates and intermingles, different messages into children's mind. So you have it starting from the child level all the way up to the adult level, where adults are, using social media as a playground of their own. So I think it all, plays a part in why relationships just aren't as strong as they were, or taken as seriously as they were.
All right. Thank you for that. Coach K, do you think marriage is taking a backseat to the modern agenda?
Yes, for sure. I would say marriage isn't even in the modern agenda whatsoever. It's not conducive. Everything that the modern agenda pushes is counter to family, just traditional conservative, family oriented principles. And also too, the agenda now is quick fix. Everything's just instant gratification, quick reward. Don't want to wait, for that pleasure that everyone's seeking. I mean, as humans, we seek naturally, but I would say it's not even like in the car. It's out of here pretty much. And it's sad to see. And people are suffering because of it, I would say. That's all I got.
Lady Di, what are your thoughts? Is marriage taking a backseat to the modern agenda?
Yeah, because if you think about the word modern, it's something new. So that's how people think of marriage. They want to always get something new. That's why there's like a high divorce rate. So they're taking it too literal. I believe that you can be married in this modern society and you can have some modern principles, but you still have to make sure that family is part of it. And what I see is a lot of selfishness. It's a lot of people saying that they want a certain lifestyle, but it never includes the family. It's just about them. And that's where it's missed. And I think that that's where we need to try to start fixing that in our community with each other, and just, solo, because at the end of the day, we're all we got. So we got to be there for each other.
Absolutely. Thank you for your perspective as well. Mr. Bennett, what are your thoughts on it?
Well, I'm lax to say that there's an agenda per se. I think weeds grow where you don't tend to the grass. And where I grew up, I never really saw a healthy, functional marriage until my adulthood. And I started to see some of it, or some of what it represented, from another culture. I'm in the IT field, so I work with a lot of Asian Indians. And so this is back in the 90s when I started to really fellowship with them and seeing how they did things. That was the first time I heard about arranged marriages, for example. And one of my good friends, he told me he was getting married, and I was a little bit offended because I didn't even know he was dating anybody. And he told me right then, I don't know who I'm going to marry yet. I'm going to India to find out, and he's going to pick, and he's going to marry and bring her back. And that just totally blew me away. So just being in that culture and environment, it showed me a different side of things. But I said, I never grew up around it. In fact, I really didn't want to get married, just based on what I saw. And this is going back, I'm probably the oldest person on this panel. This is going back to the 70s. I've seen abuse. I've seen mistresses. I've seen all of the ugly stuff. So those who are married really didn't, in those times, really didn't paint a good picture, at least for me and a lot of folks like me. So again, when you start seeing people start to think differently, I think, a lot of it goes back to that. It's like, well, who needs this? So there are a lot of people who stayed married, despite the fact that there were things that were going on that weren't right. And so I think, people started really thinking, well, is it really worth it? So again, if they can't see a good model of what it's supposed to be like, then they're going to go off and do their own thing. So you have the sexual revolution in the 60s and then the 70s, and people started thinking, hey, is this really worth doing? So I think anytime you leave a void like that, if you don't really give people or guidance of what a true marriage is supposed to be, then you're going to open yourself up for a lot of things that we're seeing today. So I don't think it's necessarily an agenda, but I think those who have been married, just as a collective, really haven't really set a good example for it. We still have a 50% divorce rate in this country, and it's obviously higher with the Black community. So why would people get married with those kind of odds where you're basically saying it's a 50-50 proposition?
All right, Mandro.
First of all, what's the agenda?
Well, if I can explain it in a short thing here. Who wants to? There's this interview. I don't know if you ladies have seen it, of Tank, and Tank went on and said that when he can go sing a song on the pop charts right now by an artist of a different color, and he can sing it and they won't listen. He said, but when he sings it, they listen. He said, but if I go make a rap song talking about how I'm going to destroy marriage or start cheat on my wife or anything like that, he said it'll get all the play. He said, I think that they're not scared of us, our aggression. They're scared of the fact that we'll love each other. And I think that the agenda is you don't want to see that man and that woman together, that marriage together. This is too strong of an entity to see a strong Black man, a strong Black woman moving together, like jail together, right? She can finish his sentences, he can finish hers. They work together. No, if she makes more than him, you won't know it. If he makes more than her, you won't know it, right? Everything's in one pot. They're just moving along, raising their children, living their life, and who wants to see that, right? There's so much money made off of destroying it, not putting it together. So that's what I feel the agenda is. But go ahead.
So the agenda is that the proverbial they is trying to keep us apart.
Exactly.
Well, that's factually correct. You don't know how correct you are, but yeah. No, it's not taking a back seat. I think it's being snuffed out, if anything. It's trying to be. There is an effort to snuff out marriage because you can't. It's not going to take a back seat to it. It's too ingrained in society worldwide. Every culture has a version of marriage. Every single one the world over. You're not getting rid of it. Ever. And this will not change. So the best thing to do is try to distract people with something else. Offer them an alternative that they think is better, but it's actually worse. It's actually worse for them. It's the same principle as the medical industry. can't just say pharmaceutical because they're all intertwined and they all work together. You know, you don't offer people the cure. You have to offer them just enough medicine to keep them alive, so they have to keep buying more medicine. You know what I'm saying? You keep them sick. So that's what's going on here with marriage and the modern agenda. Is it taking a back seat? No. People still get married. I want to get married. You know, so there's people who still want to get married and all that. As long as that's there, it's never gonna have a back seat. Too many people who see too much value in marriage.
Okay. All right. So my boy the doc is in the building tonight, man. How you doing, man? Glad you're here. So I'm gonna ask you the question, right? You came in right on time. Is marriage taking a backseat to the modern agenda?
I don't think so. For the number of couples that I see, I don't think what I find happening, the conditions, the new expectations from our society today, some people aren't prepared for that because they were raised. I mean, we're talking about people who, historical females raised with that dream of taking care of a family, playing Barbie, easy bake oven. You had the traditional boy or male, grew up rough and tough, playing with breaking blocks and stuff. So he's raised to break things. She's raised to enjoy love, expect love, and they meet together thinking they're going to have this thing that they observed from their parents and grandparents. But our traditions today have been all tainted, destroyed, dismantled, messed with, you will. And so I think the expectations have changed. Marriage is still strong, and many people want it. I don't know if many people can sustain it.
All right. So let's get into the expectation part of it then. Because I want to hear the lady's point of view. We'll do lady male until we get everybody out. But starting with you, Lady Di, like what made the expectations change? Why are the expectations so much now in marriage? Basically, I'm not going to try to put it all on women, right? But if we look at expectations, and if we had to measure who has the highest expectations, we would all agree that women have the most expectations in this day and time. Is that correct?
Yeah, but I think it's like, in my opinion, most men haven't really changed their expectation. That's women doing that. So if you're trying to be married to the opposite sex, then it should be aligned. And what I see is that it's not aligned. And then no one wants to bend. They don't want to compromise. They just want what they want, and that's it. But it's like, well, if most, let's say, men are wanting these similar things, then you're chasing something that's not here. And that's where that part is missed. So some of those women still end up getting married, but then they're not satisfied and they're not happy because some of the things that they want is just not going to happen. On top of, they want things that they are not even putting their work and effort in. So they're expecting things, but not putting in their part. So then there's no even split. It's kind of like you just give me what I want, and then that's it. And what marriage is happy like that? So the expectations do need to change. I think it needs, like I said, needs to be aligned with each other, and that's going to be discussed between the man and the female. So I believe that it can happen. I see. Let's see. I saw a question. Let me try to answer that. So what are some of those expectations? So, I mean, I don't want to keep saying the same thing that you hear on YouTube, but what you hear on YouTube is very valid. Most women really want a man that is high earning. So, okay, we could say 6 figures, right? And they want a certain type of look. They want a man to look appealing, but the appealing is very tall. Meanwhile, they're very short. So that still don't match. It don't align right. I'm not saying y'all got to be the same height, but there are people who are like 5'1" wanting someone that's 6'1". That doesn't make any sense. That doesn't even look right, honestly. But silly expectations like that. So they'll get married to someone that's not 6'1", but then guess what they're doing outside of that? as soon as they walk outside, they're seeing, some guys that are about that height, and they're looking at them like eye candy. And then they're already about to prompt to cheat just by that one silly thing, when none of those things are going to sustain your marriage. It's not even important. Those are things that's on the outside. What about the inside? So these expectations are taking them away from the things that are going to make a marriage long term. And that is the problem that I see in this society, is that these high expectations are not realistic. They're just fantasy, and the fantasy belongs where it belongs, in the fake world. So
now, while we're on the subject, I want to bring up what I want to bring up earlier with you, Lady Di. There is this massage company that are Lady Di, what's the name of it?
look, I can pull it up. I'll give you the exact name. It's so many guys doing it that is sad. But hey, this is what.
Yeah, there's like how a lot of women and I'm not trying to compare the two, but lashes is a new thing. You know what I mean? People back in the day didn't go get their lashes done. These massage guys are like the new lash girls. Like they're, you know what I mean? They're providing this service that's like, what do we need that for?
Okay, so Mr. Bennett, let me catch everybody up. So
what are we talking about?
Hold on. There's this massage company of black men. And what they do is they bring say for instance, you're married, your wife comes in and two men come out, they put a blindfold over your wife's eyes, they get hot, warm oil.
No, they're not.
They get her down almost naked.
They're not doing that either.
And they pick her up, they roll her around, they between her legs, rub on her breast, her back, her side, her butt, and women go and get this done.
Where did they get this done?
It's Atlanta, right?
Yeah. They travel.
Well, if it's Atlanta, I get it. I used to live there.
Oh, it's spreading, though, Doc. It's spreading.
No, I get it. I used to live in Atlanta. Yeah, that doesn't surprise me that it's there. But my thing is, no, these women are married, right?
Some of them.
Yeah.
Do the husbands know that they're doing this?
Yes.
And the husbands are okay with this?
What is this called? I'm gonna look this up.
Oh yeah, hold on.
So wait, and their husbands are okay with this?
Yeah, there's one called professional cuddler. So if you
gotcha. So I know what that is. The Japanese have been doing that for over a decade now. But my thing is with this right here. Let's stay here for a moment. Are you sure they're married?
Some of them.
Okay. So are you sure?
Mm-hmm.
No, I said married, not just did they.
Some of them.
Did they have a wedding?
Some of them.
They interviewed the guy.
You say so?
They interviewed the guy, one of the guys that's mainly doing it. He's very popular, almost hitting 1 million subscribers, followers on Instagram. He said that some of his clients are married women. The husband actually pays for the service, and they send them there, and then they bring them back home, and it's like they're good to go to do whatever. I don't know if that's like a warm up.
Yeah, some people say that that's what they do to get them in the mood, so to speak, and then they go home and release with their husbands. And I'm just like,
the name of the business.
Look at Coach K. She's like, I got it.
That was first on my timeline.
Yeah, the name of the business is called Touched by Melanin Gods.
I don't understand why anyone would go anywhere where you're getting touched this intimately and it's not the person that you're with.
Mm-hmm.
Have any of you ever gotten a massage, a full body massage?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
And does it not relax you?
It does.
Did you see these
hold on, I'm gonna sing you.
I don't think we can play them on YouTube. We might go against some violations.
Yeah, I ain't gonna play it. I'm not gonna play it.
Yeah, there are couples that I work with that I actually encourage for them to go get these massages.
Wait. Could you repeat that, please, doctor?
Yep. I work professionally with couples where I encourage one or the two to lower their thoughts of jealousy, fear, worry, upset. A couple questions. Was your wife or your partner met? No. So she was already touched before you even met her. Okay. 2, are you able to help her with her stress? You work 12 hours a day, 6 days a week, da da da. How are you helping her with these types of issues? Is the place certified and a professional therapist? Yes. Do they offer tantra massage or orgasmic massage? Da da da. These professional medical sexual kind of with the release massages? Yes, they do. And they're not penetrating? Nope. Boom.
So
Okay, but those aren't regular massages.
Hold on, Mandrill. I'm gonna send you the video, Mandrill, so you can look at it.
No, I don't want. No. It's fine. I'm cool.
These men have these
look, bruh. I got a feeling that I can go the rest of my life and not see that and be okay.
Okay, these men have these women. They're between their legs. They're holding them up, holding their breast, and they're like they're being very intimate. If it's the intimacy is very deep and passionate, right? Without penetration.
Okay.
Yep. If you look up tantra massage, is intended for you to reach an orgasm.
Okay,
but
Doug, you recommended your patients go to an actual real masseuse. You're not talking about this nonsense.
But he said,
well, the tantra massage, that is their licensed, certified masseuse. But they,
I know, but I'm just saying, you're talking about having them go let their spouse go get a full body massage from a actual licensed, credible establishment. Not Billy from right. But that's what this sounds like. It sounds like some guys who just fill up ladies all day.
Oh yeah.
I live under a rock. I've never heard of any of this.
Yeah, you're not right. Yeah, you're not. And Doug does not recommend his patients go. I think that's the difference here.
Yeah, no, professional.
Yeah. You're recommending your patients go to a professional.
Those are prescribed or they're suggested to help the couple build intimacy.
Exactly.
One another.
Exactly.
You don't just go and have some random person filling up on you like y'all are recording
the
scene.
That's more like a VIP strip club. We're not talking about
that.
Yeah.
And that's what that looks like. And again, that's what's on social media. And
is it more like Eastern medicine-ish, like kind of broadly? Like Eastern med? No? Like I saw something about tantra massage. Is that more like Eastern? Okay, sorry. Because honestly, he brought up a great point. But now back to the Atlanta one. So
yeah, I think that most men, I want to know what the ladies think, because Real Precious was getting on to something here. So I want to stick with the ladies for a second. Would you do it, Real Precious, if you were married?
Nope. Wouldn't never. No, I couldn't do it. Nope.
Lady Di?
No, because I like massages, but that is like their cootie cat was in the guy's face. That's like to the extreme.
You might as well marry him. I mean,
the way and I know about the tantra thing. So I thought tantra was more for the couple to get into it. I didn't know that it was like a professional tantra therapist that actually can do that type of. See, tantra is more intimate, so you're being intimate with a professional. I have to look into that. I've never heard of that. Okay.
And you can go as an individual, but I suggest couples go, but you can go as an individual as well.
Yeah, I've heard about tantric. There's tantric several things. There's tantric massages, like the doctor said. You should read up on tantric sex. That's very interesting.
Yeah,
very interesting. I mean, some of the stuff they claim they can pull off, it's like, yo, really? Like, why would you do
so?
I don't want all that. I mean, but it's something else.
That's more of a study.
Yeah,
that's more of a study.
No, it's actually, according to people, it's actual practice.
Look at your phone.
Well, yeah, a sexual study, like a sexual practice that they prescribe. It's not, some guys just saying, "Hey, let's post up,"
right?
To fill up.
Right. In one of the scenes, he had the girl and he rubbed her down. He picked her legs up and moved her legs all the way to the back of her head. And he just had the vagina sitting right there. He's like, like
Yeah, he was blowing.
smelling it. And I said, oh, hell no. Hell no. Because what, you know what's dangerous about that? What if he does it very, very, very well, and then you go home to a husband that can't even get you to that place no more? Now you reached a high with another man that you can't reach with your husband. What would you say about that, doctor?
First of all, we do assessments. Let's first assess and measure the healthiness of the relationship. You don't need testing this stuff out if you can't have a mature, healthy relationship. If you're at risk for being seduced, stay home. The healthiness of the relationship determines the ability to have the conversations with my partner, not just my boys. If my wife has a beautiful sister, a beautiful cousin, I'm keeping it trapped. And I'm not talking about a spiritual marriage or anything religious. I just mean that I don't say anything, I keep it to myself. But what is cheating? Cheating is usually about opportunity. I get into it with my wife, we don't communicate, blah, blah, blah. I'm lusting over a sister. I'm lusting over this person, that person. Every time we are romantic, and I don't know if the ladies will agree, you mean to tell me, the rhetorical question, every single time you've been romantic and engaged, 100% of the time was on that part, the mind was on that partner. If you had an experience in 2020 that was woo, and then you have a partner in 2023, you mean when they're performing a certain act, you would never, ever, ever, ever be reminded of a 2020 experience? It's not realistic. So a healthy relationship where they can talk to each other, have strong boundaries. So the guy who's massaging and his nose gets, oh, you had me twisted. I thought you were professional. You took it to an area where I wasn't trying to go. Deuces.
I don't think it'll go that well with I don't think it'll be too much deuces if I walked in and a man had his nose in my wife's vagina. I just probably it's something gonna happen. But Mr. Bennett. No. I'm gonna stay with the ladies for a second. Mr. Bennett, just get ready. Coach K, would you do it?
So looking at the profile thank you, Lady Di, for sending that to me. I just cannot with this. I cannot. And I think it's interesting how, I don't know if it's like the same woman, it looks like, but a lot of these ladies have like really banging bodies. So it's like, that's unrealistic in itself. You know what I mean? I'm sure it's for like advertising, I guess, in a sense, you know, his content.
Right.
But what? I wouldn't even feel comfortable. Like, I mean, I'm already like weird, you know. I think naturally for me, it took a while for me to be comfortable with my husband. You know what I mean? Like just to get over shit, you know? I just cannot. I cannot. And a stranger, when you asked if we had gotten massages, like I've had one, but I didn't even like that. I couldn't even relax because I didn't like someone's hands on me. And they were just on my back. So no, I don't like this at all. Oh, hell no. I'm sorry.
All right. So let's get to the guys. Mr. Bennett, would you be okay? Because I think a lot of these, imagine if these, when it comes to the girl trips, imagine if this was on a girl trip and all 9 of the ladies that's there say, hey, we're going to get these massages by these melanin gods, right? Mr. Bennett, would you be okay if your wife participated in this type of intimate massage? You're muted.
Sorry about that. I wouldn't, obviously, but I think it's still, for me, I'm hearing more that there's a gap somewhere. And I think Coach K kind of mentioned it a little bit. It's hard enough getting married people to be comfortable with one another, just off the rip, and to go to that end without you even getting your bond together. I think that could be problematic. And to me, it just goes into when we talk about if we want to be pro-marriage, we don't give like the straight truth in terms of what marriage is supposed to be about. And I think marriage, sex, I think, is about ultimately helping each partner discover one another. And I think that's a piece of it, especially when you talk about conservative circles. You don't get that conversation about sex in a way that is wholesome and welcoming. Your mom, it's like, even my wife, she was terrified to have the conversation with my girls about sex. I had the conversation with them. So again, as a culture, we still have these sort of puritanical ways about us, and then people then start discovering things on their own. It's like, oh, I didn't know this existed, or so if you're not going to get it from your family, if you're not going to get a healthy picture of what your marriage is supposed to be like and how sex is an important part of that, or intimacy is an important part of that, again, you're going to leave yourself open to these other channels where people find other ways to get satisfaction, or couples are going to this as a cure, but they're not together yet. And like the doctor was saying, I mean, if you're not on the same page, if you're not honest with one another in terms of what the expectations are, and that is not going to fix the problem. It's going to exacerbate it. So I definitely agree with them. If you're going to go that route, then certainly assessment, I think, is something that is vital to that endeavor. But we can't even get just core base marriage right in terms of what are the expectations in marriage. Your pastor's not going to talk to you about it. Your parents usually aren't going to. No one wants to. It's still this bottled up entity, and unfortunately, we live in this age of information where all these things are available. And so, if you're going to be like, oh well, if you didn't tell me about it, then fine, I'm going to find this over here. So I think we need to, from the foundation, I think we need to change the way we talk to our kids, change the way we think about marriage in general. And let's take the taboo off of it. I mean, especially my parents' generation, forget it. I mean, it was, you just didn't talk about stuff. I mean, it just wasn't done, but it doesn't mean that the women were fulfilled. So again, you could be married for 50, 60 years and the woman never had an orgasm because it wasn't taught to her that was something that should be had. She could have a bunch of kids and her sexual pleasure wasn't necessarily at the forefront of the conversation. And so again, that is again what's led to, I think, in part these issues that we're having now that we do have information and it is more public and it is more shared, that people are looking at other ways that, look, marriage didn't give me this, so why not I go over here and do this? So I think fundamentally we need to change how we approach marriage in general, because I don't think we're doing a good job of promoting it.
Can I add something really quick that this just made me think of? I'll be really quick, and not to take us in a whole other direction, but it got me thinking about how, birth control and just taking the value out of sex is also, I'll read in more conservative magazines, I mean, which is funny nowadays, but they're talking about how women in their hormones, they don't even know their bodies, and being, overly medicated and things like that, it blocks, just probably the natural, I guess, balance of, whatever hormones. And I think that's something interesting too, that this is sex in general, but it's not really appreciated. And that's why people will do it with anyone, anytime. So just wanted to add that too, but yeah.
Well, on top of that, Coach K, again, as far as women, again, that idea of knowing your body or exploring yourself, back in, that's a no-no. That's you're being lustful, you're being sinful, you don't even explore below the waist. Men, we just, our stuff is right there. We just see it, but to go to that level, it's so discouraged. So again, how can a woman, women not knowing about themselves, they don't even, up to a point, they didn't even know what was going on. But even now, people are still uncomfortable with the V word. It's just not something that's readily accepted. So again, I think we have a long way to go, at least in this culture. I can't speak for other cultures around the world. They might be more liberal about it. But again, we just have this very puritanical, repressionist view of what there. we just don't want to open it up for fear that this is just going to lead to something else. But look at where it's gotten us so far.
I think that maybe hiring a sexologist, they do exist and they are very vital. It doesn't have to be to the extreme of that type of massage. I think if some people just understand the science behind sex, maybe it will help them be more intimate. And that's with anybody, especially in a marriage, something to look into.
So, Lady Di, may I ask you a question?
Yeah.
Just we're just role play. If I said I have performance issues, and I see tradition, not even marriage, but back in the day, we waited, and if you couldn't get something in the marriage, you just couldn't get it, right? Modern day is about I want now, 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 now. I expect, I expect. I think before, if you had what you had and that was it, lucky, good for you. We don't. But if I said I can't perform and I'm even fearful I'm going to lose you because of my ability to perform, what do I do to make sure you still get your needs met, but at the same time keep true and honest to what the marriage is that we're talking about?
Well, my definition of marriage is could be totally different from some other, or I should say most modern people. If let's say my husband says something like that, I'm not leaving him. So that's not even a situation. What I would do is figure out, well, why can't you perform? And look into different ways. Maybe it could be your health. So I'm more of a resolution based type of person. So I want to fix the issue if it could be fixed. So I would try to like just research and figure out what's going on, and then think about me too. Is it something I'm doing? Is it something that how I look, how I smell? You just never know. So it's different ways that can be useful and helpful, because marriage is sickness and a health. So I'm gonna put that in line with a sickness because you were performing before and now all of a sudden you're not. So that's just taking it into consideration. But that's what I would do.
Cool. Black man, if I could just add one more piece, I think
absolutely,
that's what plays a role also through sickness and in health. And in May 1st, 2022, we were healthy and it felt good and we were married and we were happy. 20 years later, when I totally was not prepared for one of us to have cancer, not just the cancer, watching you vomit, bleed, sick, losing weight, I'm out. And I think that's changed also. What Lady Di just said, ride or die, I'm with you. We're together. I think we lost a lot of that. We ghost each other just for saying the wrong word, let alone stay together when we're sick, ill, vulnerable, and weak. That's changed also.
Man, Real Precious, you want to add to anything that they're saying?
I mean, I would agree with what they're saying. I think what I see a lot of is not, there may be communication, like we communicate, we get on these panels and we communicate, but sometimes the conversation can go in circles if you're not communicating correctly, if you're not saying the things that you truly need to say. I think that when you suppress the things that you need to say and you don't address what the real issues are, you're not going to get the desirable outcomes of what you desire. You know, like you said, Dr. Nakambe, if someone is not performing, we're adults here. You know, if we can't come up with a solution, I mean, to go for something like that, a sickness and health, like you said, you have to be committed to not only loving someone, but to that actual person in order to do that. And I think that communication gets, either people are not communicating or people are being very passive. You know, and the passive behavior gets you years on down the line, and that person does end up sick. And you do have a stretch of 20 years, and then you have a stretch of 3 years that are horrible. And you're saying to yourself, oh, how do we get here? I don't even want to look at him. I don't even want to touch him. I don't even want to talk to him. I'm done with them.
But there were the vows, right? I mean, I'm married to you. I'm committed to the commitment. I'm married to the church. I'm committed to my favor by my higher power of allowing us to have this union. So I actually have accountability, whatever you want to call that. It's not just my feelings in the moment about you. I actually have my other commitments, both spiritually, religiously, family, community, union, children. Those other commitments might play a role in what's really keeping me in the game, in addition to my agreement to being at your side. And I think we lost a lot of that too.
Yeah. And so my next question would be, what happened? Like what happened to sickness and in health? Why are people ghosting people? I've seen stories where a woman found out her husband had cancer. She was out, or vice versa.
Here's one. I got one. A personal friend of mine, guy I served with, fought with, whole nine. I was there at his wedding. I knew his wife. I was there when his baby was born. Right when they had the baby, we deployed one time. We get back. She's not there. Neither's the kid. Neither's the furniture. Neither are the ice cubes in the freezer. His bank account has been wiped out. All the money gone. Everything gone. She just deserted him. When he finally got in contact with her, he asked why. She says, because I need someone to be with me 24/7. You know what I mean? I need you to be around. You deploy too much. You know what I mean? I can't handle that and blah, blah, blah. Why don't you talk to me about that? Why don't you talk to me about that first? Yeah, but the thing is that he wasn't the only one that happens to. It actually happens a lot in the military. Women desert guys all the time. They just straight up desert them all the time in the military, all branches, except maybe the Coast Guard. But Coast Guard doesn't count anyway for anything. but no, yeah, there's a shade of it all. But yeah, it happens through all branches of the military. I mean, I guarantee you, almost every veteran you talk to will know of something like this happening because it happens too much. And
I think that could have been something that was passed down to women. I remember someone in my family saying like, "Oh, just find you a military man and be with him for 10 years." And I'm like, well, it ain't that. You just can't just find somebody and just be like, like I think that information is passed down to women for security. And they know that if I'm with this person for this amount of time, I can secure this money, and then I don't necessarily have to be with them anymore because I did what I needed to do and marry them. And not even with military, even with divorce benefits women.
Listen, if you're in the military and that woman divorces you, if she wants to, she really, you think, see, guys out here think that divorce is something that can wreck you. If you're in the military, it is over because the Army is going to make you take care of that woman. And if you have a kid, God have mercy on your twisted soul. You're going to take care of her and the kid. And if you're not going to see the money, they're going to take the money out before you get it and give it to her, so you get what's left. And I've seen guys working, like doing the same job we're doing, working the same hours. These guys will get like $500 a check, $1,000 a month because of child support and alimony and all other kind of crazy stuff they have to pay. And what's left for them? One paycheck goes towards, both paychecks go towards bills, and their cars get repossessed all the time. That's why if you go on a military base, you'll see that all of them that I've been to have a section that's where it's called a lemon lot, but that's where people will park their cars because they got repossessed. And like car dealerships will be allowed on base to set those cars out there in case people want to come and pick them up and buy them. Like, and it's because those cars got repossessed because those guys can no longer afford those vehicles and their rent or mortgage and the rest of the bills. Like a lot of guys had to move out of a house, foreclose on it, and move into the barracks. You know what I'm saying? Like it's nasty. And people in the civilian world think it's bad. I'm like, yeah, good thing you ain't in the Army.
So let me ask Lady Di. Lady Di, and then I'm gonna get to the super chat. I haven't forgot about that. But Lady Di, what happened to sickness and in health for richer or poor through good times and bad times? What happened to people sticking to those vows? What happened?
people just don't care anymore. It's like, if it's not about what they want and what they desire, and desires can change. And if you ain't catching up to what their change is going to, then you'll be left behind. And I just believe that a lot of the reality of life is a hit or miss with some people. They think of this certain way it's supposed to be, but marriage is marriage. It's only like one way, and it's just to stick together. That's it. It's like too many, like you think of a rainbow, they got all the colors. You just need one of those colors. You don't need all of the stuff to make it work. It's just commitment. That's it. You committing because the reason why you got married should be for a reason. And I guess people are not getting married for a reason. They're just getting married to be married, to have that title, to say, oh, I did this, get that ring or whatever some women believe that's cool. Or for men, you know, I don't want to say, there are men that, you know, that would get married for benefits as well. But I believe it's mostly women that's doing it in a more materialistic way. So all of that stuff is just a hit or miss. You don't get married for weddings. You don't get married for all the fancy stuff around it. You get married because you want to be with that woman or that man. And that's it. That's what's missed. No one's getting married for that.
And what about you? I'll bounce up to Mr. Bennett. Mr. Bennett, what happened to the vows? What happened to through sickness and in health, you know, rich or poor, good times, bad times? What happened to the vows? Why aren't people sticking to the vows? Why are they taking them but not sticking to them, basically?
I think a lot of it has to do, again, what your expectations going in. Mm-hmm. If you're thinking you're getting married to make someone else, to make yourself happy, or if marriage is looked at as a selfish act, or what this person will do for me, then I think that whole playbook needs to be changed. At the end of the day, marriage is about sacrifice. So when I took the vows, it was about what I would do for the woman. It's a covenant, and covenants are different. Contracts define how a relationship is supposed to end, but covenants are not supposed to have an ending to them. So again, what has been put into you as far as what that is? If it's like, oh, well, you know, I want to be happy, you know, and again, it's not to say I want to be miserable, but again, if you don't go into marriage taught that, look, this is a sacrificial relationship, this is a sacrificial joining, and if you're not built for that, then you're at the first signs of trouble, you're going to run away from it. So I think a lot of it is like what we've been told, but again, just with the percentages as the way they are, it's a 50-50 proposition across the board. And so with that kind of, you can't help but think, hey, this may not work. just going in that whole, we go into this and we ain't even thinking about divorce, and we just gonna, do this thing. I mean, just the numbers, or just the way a lot of us have been raised, or the families that we've been raised in, tell another story. A lot of us have been raised in single parent households. So again, it's very few have seen like the model. Like for me, I was fortunate enough to say, okay, I see these people over here and I think they're doing it right. And I think I can, if I can learn what those people are doing, or if I can model myself after them, then I may have a shot at this. So again, a lot of it is about who you're around. A lot of it's about the culture, who's advising you. I think has a lot to do with your success in the endeavor. But if you've had no blueprint, if you're just winging it, your chances of success are going to be minimized. So I think it's almost like it's just downhill. You don't have a good model. You're going to model after what you see. That model didn't work, so it's not going to work for you, and it just keeps continuing. So again, we have to have some hard stops, and hey, let's hit a reset and let's rethink this whole thing, and let's talk about marriage in a whole new context, and let's start with a clean slate here for those who actually want it, or those who can actually receive what you're saying.
Absolutely, thank you for that, Coach K. Why are the vows not important anymore? Your perspective on it.
I don't know. There's just so much to this. I think I mean, it's deeper and it bleeds into other areas. I mean, people just quitting jobs just because they don't feel like it. Like their word doesn't really mean much. And I also think too, people are getting married, but they don't have a greater purpose. You know what I mean? Like, I saw Family Values, her comment about God not being at the center. And for me, I think that's the root of it. Especially if you're not, yeah, exactly. If you don't, if you don't have that relationship or have that faith, then what's the point? And then also too, and it's okay if, I guess, if they're not spiritual, whatever, there's just no long, sorry, I was talking to my freaking husband. Now I'm like losing track of, because I was asking him about the military stuff. But I just think that people just don't, it's not the fulfilling stuff anymore. You know, it's like, I'll leave my marriage because whatever, which is fine right now, but later on, and also too, they don't see the impact of, you know, what that's going to have on their kids. And, you know, when it's time to retire, or they need help, you know what I mean? It's just, again, it's just that instant, you know, gratification, just very empty shallowness, values, I think, in at least the Western world. So yeah, sorry, that was like scattered, but yeah.
Yeah, and just to piggyback on what you were saying about God, like in today's society, people think that they can do it on their own because there is this popcorn culture of a society. You can go on Instagram or a platform and do something, and you're putting all the work in, and you're putting all the blood and sweat and tears in, and you're able to tell people, I did this and I did this and I did this. But when you're not able to do something, then you beat yourself up about it. And that's why marriage is never intended to happen without God, because that's your home base, that's your source of strength. So if you don't have a source of strength, you're gonna beat yourself up even more, thinking that you can do it in your own strength. And something like marriage is not something that you could do in your own strength when you're joining two people together.
Great perspective. Doctor, what do you have to say?
Actually, I want to go back real quick to Mr. Bennett and throw a challenge only from a client's perspective. And that is, and it's kind of weird actually, because I want to say you actually answered the question already. But that communication piece, because what I hear from some women, they're tired. And that sacrifice you want me to make, heck, I'm already washing the dishes. I'm already doing laundry. I'm already taking care of the kids. I'm already taking care of you. I'm already making sure I'm available to you when you need me. I'm making sure your food is ready. I'm making sure if I have a job that I'm going to work, not really sure who's helping to take care of me. Now you're ill, my partner, you're ill. I don't know how much I can do this, which then leads into my response of what I think happened over time to sickness and health. Unmanaged mental health, no real intervention skills to deal with crisis in the family. We have finance in the house and we don't memorize those, right? But we don't even have crisis plans. I think more people need coaching and support and kind of how-to cheerleaders. There's no more big mama in the house. There's no more culture. Well, I should say no more. I think it's the clients that I speak to and in my own community, it's rare. I don't even think I don't know of a community leader. There's an imam at the mosque somewhere, but there are no more cultural or community leaders that people actually go to have these conversations or for mediation. So sickness and health, I'm really having to make decisions by myself. And I could do bad by myself. I can do bad by myself. It's easier to let go and ask for forgiveness later than it is to try and manage all this.
And I thank you for that. Now, I want to get into something else. But before I do that, I want to take a quick break because I did have a super chat I wanted to address here. Let me see. Who was it? Uncle Stu. Thank you, Uncle Stu. He gave a $5 super chat. He said, many people online giving advice and they not married. This is why you getting bad advice supporting the show. Thank you so much, Uncle Stu. And I'll go ahead and play this. We'll take a quick break and play this for him. And we'll be right back. All right. Thank you so much for that super chat. I appreciate you, brother, Uncle Stu. Good to see you, man. Good to see you. All right. So I want to get to a point about marriage that a lot of people talk about, but we really don't directly talk about it. And I think I got the right people here tonight to have this discussion. When you're married, when it comes to male friends and or work husbands, etc. Ladies, I'll start with you. What are your thoughts on that? Do you think that a woman can truly be friends with a man, be platonic with a man that she works with every day, that she sees every day, or to just have a male friend that close to you anyway? We'll start with Lady Di.
No. So it's a tricky question. So I believe that you can be friends with a man, sure. But if that guy, let's say he's not married, he's single, and his intentions are he really likes you, because no one can deny, let's say that woman is a good woman, right? So cool. He recognizes that she is a good woman. Cool. But then we don't know how far his imagination is going to go. Just because you have a husband don't mean he's going to respect it. If you start telling this man your issues, then he's going to feel that he has the opportunity to, get you when you're vulnerable. So there's different ways to go about it. I don't think if you do have a male friend that you should have those type of conversations. You never share what's going on in your house between you and your husband. You and your husband needs to discuss that. The only thing that man is there for is to hang out with you and your husband together. But then there's distance. It don't need to be every week. Okay, you need to space it out and have a little bit of respect, because anybody that is single is just kind of just a dangerous game. Also, if you're in a space where you are going through things with your spouse, and then you start to hang out with this guy, even if it's with your husband, you're going to start looking at this man. This is what I believe. You can start looking at this man like, wow, I wish my husband would do this. And then now you're comparing a friend versus the one that, said they wanted to be part of your life forever. So the way how the mind works is dangerous. So I believe it needs to be a boundary, and it needs to be spaced respectfully. So
the real Precious, I want to hear what you have to say for sure.
Yeah, I would say if you have this male friend and he's truly a friend to you, and there is no he's a platonic friend. If he can't meet your husband, if they can't shake hands, if they can't go out to lunch, or if they can't talk to one another, then you don't need to have this man as your friend, because men are going to tell you the truth. And especially your husband. Your husband's going to say, like, yeah, he just want to look at you, or he just want you in his presence for this reason or that reason. But initially, I don't think that you should have the friends. Like I said, if they can't meet, and if, like Lady Di said, if there's no boundaries and space there, then it definitely can't happen.
All right, Coach K.
I agree with both the ladies. So, I mean, the only thing I'm going to add is that, I mean, because I know I can manage myself. I have 100%, faith in myself. And obviously, if something were to happen, I know that that I'm aware. I can say no. I can remove myself. Now, of course, if he's a man and let's say he comes on to me, well, obviously that's a crime in itself, and I can't really do anything then because let's say if he's stronger, and that's really like extreme. But the thing is like he's the one that's going to suffer, because if he wants more, dumb for him, because I'm not giving him anything besides friendship. So it's like, then why would you be friends with me? Like, I'm very clear on making sure the messages, and I'm not giving mixed signals. I'm not being flirtatious and acting like that's innocent, because I see women do that all the time. And I'm like, nope, that's not okay. But at the same time, just in general, I don't really see the point unless it's my husband's friend. And especially if he doesn't want to meet my husband, that's no go. So it would honestly just have to make sense. But I don't talk to anyone outside of like my sister and my husband anyway. So, I mean, that's it. It is out. Sometimes I'm so immersed in my own like bubble that it's crazy that like these things do happen. You know what I mean? But yeah, sorry.
I've had this conversation with Mr. Bennett, but I know Mr. Bennett, he may have changed his perspective. So I want to, Mr. Bennett, with your wife, is it okay for your wife to have a male friend, a man that she goes to work with and maybe go out and have lunch with during work hours, things of that nature? Is that okay with you and your husband over 20 years married? So I really want to hear your perspective on what do you think about it? Because at this point, who would say Mr. Bennett is just, what's the words they're using now? Jealous, insecure, narcissistic. So I know you're not those things, Mr. Bennett. So what are your thoughts?
I'm not a fan of it. Simply just human beings being the way they are. If you're spending that kind of time, you're at work 8-10 hours with someone every day. It's just natural that you're probably going to talk about things that you shouldn't, share information that you shouldn't. And oftentimes it's just natural just to form those bonds with someone. So I wouldn't be a fan of it. My wife isn't either. But I think also we have to talk about what friendship truly is, because I use that term loosely. You can have a lot of buddies, but your buddies aren't necessarily your friends, the people you like to hang out with and do things. But a true friend recognizes boundaries. I know both my wife and we both had friends of the opposite sex before we got married, but it was understood by us that we're probably not going to be hanging out, or I'm not going to be on the phone talking to you for long periods of time. And we cool with that. We might be on Facebook. I may say, hey, it's your birthday, it's your anniversary, happy birthday, happy anniversary, or whatever. But your true friends want the best for you. And they're not trying to be an impediment to the relationship that you built. If you get married, then a friend is going to understand that is your number one priority in relationship. And unless that husband is going to be 100% content with that relationship, that is honest. But if the husband said, look, I'm not comfortable, if the wife said, I'm not comfortable with this, then that friend, if it's a true friend, they're going to understand that, look, I can love you from afar. I got friends who I might talk to once a year and we're still close. We pick up like we as if like we didn't leave it off, but we don't necessarily require that we need to be around each other all the time. So I think we also have to talk about what true friendship is. I think a lot of people have buddies and associates, but at the end of the day, and because you also have to say the same thing, but even for friends of the same sex. We talk about this a lot. If you're a woman, what female friends do you have? What are they putting into your head in terms of your marriage? If they're saying, girl, don't even listen to what he had to say. Or vice versa, if guys are telling you stuff about your wife or how you should move as a husband that are taking away from things that is right. So again, those type of people you don't need in your life, whether it be male or female. But I think the male female dynamic, or if it's a male dynamic, if that person's part of the LGBTQ community or whatever, if there's a chance for attraction, or you may not know quite what their motives are in the quote unquote friendship that you have, then I think you need to be mindful of that. And I just assume just stay away from that. The bulk of my time I spend with my wife, and certainly I have friends who I ride or die with, and we have our discussions and whatnot, but nothing that's not edifying of the officers that we have. Some guys are married, some guys are not, but even the guys who are not, they're very much pro the ones that are, and they would never do anything that would jeopardize our marriages in any way. So it's about the circle that you keep.
Absolutely. Brother Hink, thank you for being here tonight, man. How you doing, brother? Is he there?
Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you. How you doing tonight, man?
Okay. Man, I'm in here in Louisville, Kentucky without power, baby. It ain't good.
Oh, whoa, what's going on in Louisville?
I'm waiting for it too. Me and Cincy.
Yeah, storms hit.
Yeah, we got hit real hard last night, man. We didn't have power either for a while. We had tornadoes and 80-mile-per-hour winds, and it was really, really bad here today. Couldn't even go to work. Debris was all over the highways. It was really bad. So
yes,
I'm praying for you, man, and thank you for being here, man. I guess we'll keep you entertained while you sitting in the dark, brother.
Slipping in the darkness, baby. Slipping in the dark.
Come on. So listen, I want you. So, what are your thoughts on it, man? About the male friends. Is it okay for your woman to have a male friend or a person that she works with, that she goes to lunch with, have a good time? While they're at work, they're together. What do you think? I know that. I already know that.
Hell, man. No, we ain't doing that. Yeah, we can't do all that. No, that's a no-go in the Hinks household.
Absolutely.
So, no, we can't do that. That's a violation. So we don't want to be violating anything, and so no, we don't want that. No, and unfortunately, you see it happen all the time. You see it go on a lot, and I'd be like, man, why? I mean, you realize you could possibly set yourself up for failure.
Yep.
Unfortunately, in my younger years, I was one of those guys who was going out with chicks who had boyfriends for work lunch, and something ended up happening in the meantime, between time, and it shouldn't have. But I violated, and I shouldn't have. Made a bad decision. We both did, because we both involved in a relationship. But yeah, I said I'd never do that again. Never do it again. And I don't want to. I couldn't imagine how my girlfriend felt. After her hearing about it. But she let me say this. She pretty much told me how she felt by cursing me out, but not a fan of it. So.
All right, Brother Mandrill. Last but not least, and then I'll play a video after this, because you guys got to see this. I mean.
So what now? What was the question?
Male friends. Are you okay with your woman having male friends? And with those male friends, are you okay with them, having lunch together, brunch together, whatever, while they're working?
Not new ones. No, not new ones. If you had a male friend before me, I mean, well, that's before me. You know what I mean? Fair enough, whatever. But if you're talking about, like, you said brunch together and lunch together at work?
Yeah, they go to so say for instance, you and your woman and this guy works in the same office, and they work collectively together. They have to work together, right? As a part of the process.
All right.
And they say, hey, it's lunchtime. They got the same lunch. Where you going today? I'm going to Subway. Oh, I'll go with you. And they go have Subway together. Is that okay?
No. Nope. Like King said, I when I worked for the feds, when I worked for the feds, there was
hold on, don't say that. Hold on, wait. We can't have you work for the feds. Wait.
Federal government. You don't know what agency.
I know they're coming to get us.
Algorithm.
Federal government. I work for the CDC. What are you talking about? I'm not going to arrest anybody.
I'm just playing with you, bro. I'm just playing with you. Go
ahead. So I mean, you know what I'm saying? So anyway, so there's a bunch of people there married and all that stuff, and so there are some married women that would get with coworkers, male coworkers, and at lunchtime they would go get in the car, say, "Hey, we're gonna go get lunch," and they go get lunch, but they go around back behind the building and hook up. And so, no, you can coworker male friends. I'm not comfortable with that. It's not that I don't trust her; it's that I don't trust the dudes. But then, because I've had this conversation before. Yeah, but it's up to me to decide. No. I don't even want you bothered with that. You shouldn't have to. No, like, why is this? And then, if there are, so fellas, if you get in a discussion and it's a back and forth, ask her, why is this such a pressing issue with you? Why do you feel the need to be friends with this guy? See, now I'm concerned. You see what I'm saying? These are questions you need to ask, because if she's pressing the issue, there is reason to be concerned. Even if you're not concerned, there should be a question mark there about that. So, and I agree with some of the people on the panel. If I can't meet your male friends that you already have, then okay, what's going on here? It's time to start asking questions and having a discussion. Why not? Do you guys have a romantic past? Things like that. But short answer, no new ones.
All right, now bringing it in, Doctor. I'm gonna let you go, but before you go, I want to play this video because I want you to be able to ladies, brace yourselves. I don't know if y'all already seen this video, but man, somebody sent this to me like just now. And I had already seen. I was like, oh, that would have been great for the show if I would just.
Are you serious? Wait, you already about to play that?
No, just here we go.
Or woman, if you're the opposite sex, they just don't have to be your best friend, maybe, unless they already were.
So can you don't have to be with somebody you already fucked?
Yeah, you can.
Oh wow.
I got a couple friends.
I don't think that's the platonic.
You know what it is? Sometimes it's all about, let's just get this out the way. Now that it's out the way, we can actually focus on the friendship. It's not. That's not the point of entry.
Yeah,
not for every guy friend. But
I feel like that ain't my friend. It's just
that's
real
not
cordial.
my friend.
Like, it's like, hey, what's up?
Sometimes those are the closest friends, though. I think sometimes with guys that you've fucked in the past, it could be, for me, it's not every single guy that's my guy friend I fucked. I ain't fucked you yet. But some of them I would have, and it's just a different bond, right? It's a different, more like, I can talk to you.
You didn't instantly bond.
Okay. There's no way.
Oh my God!
That wasn't the video I was thinking about, but
no.
That was interesting too.
Oh, well, Doctor.
All right.
Before you go, to just take that in real quick. I want you to come and cook right after this. But ladies, real precious. I saw your face and your head was shaking. Oh, we got another woman in here. High Value Wives is in this thing tonight. But after High Value Wives, I hope you saw that video. But real precious. What are your thoughts?
Even the way she said, let's get this out the way or something like that, she said, no, you can't be friends with you can't be friends with the man that you had already had sex with, and you talking about being married to a man. That is just emotionally, I don't know why women try to act like they can downplay feelings and the emotions of sex and act like, oh, well, I can be just like a man, or I can have the same feelings as him. Oh, he don't care, I don't care. You care. You feel some type of way, and feeling that way, you need to cut it off. I think women don't want to cut off relationships or situationships or whatever the situation may be, because they must be benefiting in some type of way, and they're not willing to leave that alone to start anew. And that could be why women, can't really commit to a man either, because she's holding on to something that she needs to let go. She needs to cut that off, because there's no way a man is going to be able to love you fully if part of you is still with other people.
Man, did you hear what she said? She said when she's friends with a guy, the first thing they do is just go ahead and get it out the way. They go ahead and have sex so they can focus on the friendship. That's what she said. Coach K, what are your thoughts?
That is just so backwards. Like, again, it's it's just very immoral. It's immoral from so many different approaches. It's like it's taking the value out of sex. It's taking the value out of friendship. Like, what are we doing here? You know what I mean? And plus, too, now that I'm thinking about it, getting it out of the way, yeah, for you, the female, but not for the guy. Like, he's still gonna want it after that too, right? I mean, I'm guessing. Like, I just can't. I'm sorry, I don't have anything else to add because I can't believe this. I guess because I feel so strongly that that's wrong. I mean, I could find understanding for sure, but right now I'm just appalled. Yeah. So that's it.
And welcome to the show. High Value Wives is in the building tonight. High Value Wives, did you get a chance to see the video?
I caught like the tail end of it. Hello to everyone, by the way, on the panel.
Okay. Now, I want your perspective. It's only 51 seconds, guys. So I'm going to play it again so High Value Wives can see this trash. Okay, here we go.
Or, woman, if you're the opposite sex, they just don't have to be your best friend, maybe, unless they already were.
So can you
don't have to be
with somebody you already fucked?
Yeah, you can.
Oh, wow.
I got a couple friends.
I don't think that's a platonic
You know what it is? Sometimes it's all about, let's just get this out the way. Now that it's out the way, we can actually focus on the friendship. That's not the point of entry.
Yeah,
not for every guy friend. But literally. Yeah.
But I feel like, okay, yeah, that ain't my friend. It's just
That's
real
not my
cordial.
friend.
Like, it's like, hey, what's up?
Sometimes those are the closest friends, though. I think sometimes with guys that you've fucked in the past, it could be, for me, it's not every single guy that's my guy friend I fucked. I ain't fucked you yet. But some of them I would have, and it's like it's just a different bond, right? It's a different, more like I can talk to you.
You didn't instantly bond.
Okay.
There's no way.
All right, how about you, Wives? Your thoughts?
Wow. I mean, she just sounds like another stray cat to me. It doesn't sound like, I'm not trying to be rude. That's just my impression that I get of her. She seems like a woman who maybe hasn't had a father in her life, a strong family foundation. I mean, there's really not much to say there. I mean, there's plenty of women out there like her. And I think the game is for men to just avoid women like that, especially women who are who are loud like that for no reason. I mean, as she's talking, I'm thinking to myself, why is she so loud? So it's like for men, there are little clues that you can pick up on when you're determining whether you should pursue that or run the other way. So as a man who's watching that, you should ask yourself, why would I pursue something like that? But like I said, it's not shocking. There are thousands of women out here just like her. But what men need to do, they just need to know how to avoid it. They need to know what to look for and when to run.
All right, thank you for that. Lady Di, I know you about to tear down the roof. Lady Di, what are your thoughts? I saw your face when you were watching it. You was like, what? But go ahead.
So I have come to conclusion that there are always going to be women like this. And I call them hoes, period. That's just what they are. They want what they want. They don't see nothing wrong with it because they don't even want a man, let alone marriage. And I don't even think anyone could change their mind because their mind is already made up and they're grown. So we're talking about what she probably in her 30s. So at this point, there's really no return, especially if she's already just considering a guy friend. She has to get it out the way. Her mindset is more than backwards. I think it's just poisoned. And you cannot unpoison something that's poisoned, that is dead. So with her, it's just sad because she is on a platform. What show is that? That show needs to go. And she's speaking this way and she's encouraging other females to do or be the same way, especially the young ones. So under 30, you're putting out there that that's okay to do. And how I look at that is, you know, you should keep that to yourself and talk to you and your close friends about it. But don't put it out there like, yeah, well, this is the new wave. You know, bump marriage. We just gonna get it out the way. Any male you come across, that belongs at the strip club. Keep it there. You talking strip club talk to a black girl, whatever the show was called. That's two different conversations, and it's so weird to see that they think it's normal. So it's things that should be left at the strip club, and we don't need to hear it unless we go into the strip club. And guess what? We ain't gonna bring it out of the strip club. So that's my take on that.
All right. Thank you so much. Mr. Bennett, what are your thoughts after watching? I saw you shake your head and almost go out of frame. So what's your thoughts?
Single. And she'll probably stay single. But I think people, when it really comes to marriage, is, you know, circling back to the main topic, I think it requires an honest assessment as far as, you know, who you really are, and not everyone's built for it. And you know, so certainly that wouldn't be something I would want to see anyone, you know, her forced into, or you know, trying to convince herself that's something that she's really built for, unless she has a real, you know, therapeutic, you know, session or series of sessions where she can really, you know, reconstruct, or, you know, how this works, because how this is working here, it just doesn't work in a marital setting that's based on commitment and closing doors and again, sacrifice. You know, we don't like to use that word too much, but it's all of those things. And, you know, someone like that who, I'll be generous and say she's a free spirit, they're just not built for that. And so I wouldn't take it anywhere, you know, beyond that. Any man that would entertain that, you know, look, just know what you're in for. But, you know, if you're trying to wife her someday, you know, that's just not going to be a good, that's not good selection. That's not good, you know, filtering process.
Mm-hmm. Hank, what are your thoughts? Brace yourself, ladies and gentlemen.
You know, during my manhood days, I would have loved that heifer. I would have. She been on the roster. Been one of my victims. 20 minutes and take
Would
the
she
life
be a
saving.
victim, Hank? I don't know. She sounds like you could be the victim there. I don't know.
Exactly.
Hey, look here. I wouldn't mind. Give me 20 minutes. You take this lifesaver, you get on about your business. But I mean, again,
wait, a lifesaver, Hank?
Yeah.
You gave him candy afterwards.
Yeah, well, because she's not staying at night, so she could get out of my house about 2 or 3 in the morning. You're not gonna let that sun beat you up. We're not doing that.
But why the candy?
Well, Brent gonna be stinking.
Okay.
Go ahead, Hank. Go ahead, finish, bro.
I mean, I don't know why Mandrill want all the details.
He has it all.
I didn't want all of them. Didn't want all of them. You said lifesavers. I mean, good name drop, but I'm like, why the candy? Eh?
Oh my God. Go ahead, Hank.
No, but it's sad. Like Lady Di was saying, that she's on the platform spewing this message out to a lot of young ladies. I'm sure is probably watching the show, is being influenced by her, and probably even taking notes. Sad. It's sad. And so now you're doing yourself a disservice. You're adding more bodies to your roster that a man is not going to appreciate. No, she seemed like a lifetime single person. That's what the conversation she was giving off. That's what she sounded like. She don't ever want to have a real relationship or marriage. She don't want nothing steady. She just want, you know, whenever I feel the desire to call one of her so-called friends and do what they need to do and keep it going. But I mean, as far as real relationship, no, she don't sound like she's ever going to invest in something like that.
And if she ever does get married, ain't no man gonna allow her to have no male friends. That's for sure.
Right.
But go ahead, real person. What you about to say?
It's like she's, you know, like she said, get it out the way, but you've already had sex with this guy, and then you're gonna build an emotional relationship with him. And so it's like, is that her way of buying the cow or not buying the cow when she gets
Man.
the milk? Like what is mentally what does that do for a woman when you're, you know, saying that you can have these friends that you have already slept with and keep them at bay to be friends and brag about that? You know, it's I don't know, maybe it's a mental a self-harming tactic, it seems like, for her.
But this is what I'm tired of, and I talked about this the other day. Why are people saying that this is a friend, this is a best friend, this is a close friend? No, that is a man that you mess with. So let's keep the titles correct. You don't put these terms on stuff that's not even true. If you mess with a guy, you guys slept together and did all of that, that is not a friend. He's in a different category. So it's confusing to hear that, especially now women say it so much that you can't even say I have a male best friend or I have a male friend in general, because that word has been used inappropriately. So no male believes that. When you hear any female say they have a male best friend, the whole negative, you know, your antennas go up automatically, because people like that are saying this and it's not even true. So let's keep, I mess with this guy there and keep friends, because friends you don't mess with. Best friends you don't mess with. That's a friend. Those are titles for a reason. So let's not mix the two together and call it what it is and just say it like that.
All right. So last but not least at all, Doctor, you've heard it all. You've seen it all. And we're gonna go to our last question after this. But what are your thoughts?
All right. I have lots. Key points. Let me go backwards.
Okay.
Forever, what have we been now? Look, let's consider the title of the show. We're talking about marriage. First, understanding what marriage is about and what it's not about. If we can get that understanding and agreement, this conversation is a moot point about going out, about friends. In fact, my woman would beat me to the punchline about, no, you don't have to worry about Pookie being my friend. That's not even an option. If we had true understanding of what our marriage is about. When we talk about the modern day messaging getting in the way, that channel, memes, everyone's opinion on what you should be doing, why you shouldn't be doing it, why I think you're being disrespected by your own husband, you should go out. What about your friend? And I said this on before, I think with you, the Real Precious, some people miss red flags, not intentionally, but intentionally. The greatest thing we can not have in our marriages and connections is communication. If my woman is looking run down, tired, drained, and I'm not mentioning anything, not addressing it, I didn't see it, you know, she's putting clear signs out there and I don't see it. That's why that guy at work and that Subway sandwich seems so much more appealing, because he's paying attention. He's paying attention.
Doc.
Yes.
In a marriage, well, the kind of marriage I want to be in, isn't the benefit of the doubt supposed to be in play here? So it's not that I agree with what you said. We don't intentionally miss red flags, but we intentionally miss red flags, right? Are we wrong for giving our spouse the benefit of doubt? Because I think, like you said, that the number one thing is communicate that can tear it apart is communication. In my opinion, number two is trust. You know what I'm saying? But benefit of the doubt, is that not to be in play?
No. What number one social stressor? Anybody tell me what's the number one social stressor we have in our communities that we have to deal with?
Social
stressor? Like being accepted?
Mistrust.
Okay. Well, let's just start with that. Let's just run with it. If I'm struggling with being accepted, my partner, I have to be aware where I need to pour more into, more attention. If I take for granted she knows what she's doing, here's the current argument about women saying, we're tired of you telling us what to do. When men lead, great. But if you're leading on some power trip, some ego trip, on some control trip, on your non-trust trip, that's extra. You're doing extra, and I don't need that. So now already we have not only conflict, but we have actually going the opposite ways. I'm in situations unintentional as a result of me going a different way from your agenda with me. So let me, if I may do this, we have traumas that we don't even realize are traumas. We don't even realize are traumas. And the number one we normally have is called betrayal trauma. When you have betrayal trauma as a child and you are raised on that platform, if you plant an apple seed, you're going to get an apple tree. If you grow on a betrayal platform, half the stuff we're talking about is because we don't want to feel betrayed, not about our marriage. What is the true value of marriage? What is the true condition of marriage? People aren't getting married. A lot of my clients are not getting married for that. They're getting married so they can pay bills together, they can live together, they can take care of the kids. That's why a lot of my clients are getting married. And then the older ones, they stay married because of the convenience and the being familiar and safe with my partner. Half the stress is not even in our relationship anymore because we feel safe and secure and we have each other. But if one of us has mental illness and we're not taking care of it, I can just turn this cup a little to the one way and wait all day to see if my partner noticed. And then I flip out because you didn't even notice that I turned the cup. Wow, really? And so I just want to run through a few of these key points. That betrayal trauma, a good situation. Dad is working across seas, maybe for the government, all right? Mama is trying her best to take care of me. Mama becomes ill, she needs surgery. They do a good thing, they send me to grandma and grandpa's. That's a good thing. But right now, I didn't even know if we do that to a 5-year-old, they get in their brain what's called betrayal trauma, meaning they are traumatized by going away from the primary nurturer and primary caretaker are both gone. At 5 years old, they don't know how to articulate that. And as parents, we're thinking we're doing a good thing. This is a clinical perspective. It's not my opinion. This is clinical. When I go to grandparents and we're baking and having fun and woo, I never want to leave. And when when mom comes back from surgery and she's doing well and grandparents say, go back home, that's a positive thing. But that's another experience of feeling betrayed. Grandma, why can't I just stay another week? Grandpa, why can't? And I'm not talking about anything major. These are positive things. But we didn't know, at least what we're being taught today, that the kids were traumatized. So now I go back to mom's house, and if it wasn't as fun as grandma's, hint, hint, guess what pillar I'm growing up on? Whatever is more fun. My brain is telling me go to whatever is more fun. Because if not, you're just going to go back to ordinary. And so if I'm based on that, then I get in this marriage and at first it's fun. At first it's fun. But then I feel betrayed when I'm ready to get hot and heavy and you're talking about you're tired. You feel betrayed when I don't respect that you don't feel well and maybe your cycle is in and I say something like, well, you can't use your mouth? Wow. You mean you can't be patient and wait? But again, pending how they were raised, some say any part of my body is available to you, and some say you need to wait and show respect. Trust issues. If the man has trust issues, is it really going to work? Is it really going to work? To answer you truthfully, the friend zone is no different than the husband zone other than sex. You tell your best friend your intimate secrets and private things and have fun and laugh. You tell your husband or your wife or your partner fun things, joke and laugh. I mean, we're having a sterile conversation, but if we're talking about modern society, first of all, we're talking about poly relationships. We're talking about bisexual. We're talking about demisexual. People don't even have sex unless they like the energy that they feel. the energy. So if you're talking about a person who's demisexual, married or not, if they feel really good about that coworker, that's an automatic activity for us to do. And again, I know that doesn't sound like the traditional marriage, but we're talking about in a modern world. So those couples that want the core traditions of marriage have to have the conversations about what I expect, what I hope for, how can I lead, and how can I protect you? How can I protect you, wife, for when you're in these work environments? How can I protect you, wife, when you're at the gas station and the guy's hollering at you? And then same thing, women, how do we talk to our men about when they get into these fantasies? Back in the day, porn was these full featured 2-hour intro. Billy James is starring in da da da. And now they're 15-second clips, and the sensory is in our eyes, meaning animals, they make mating calls. And then that means I want you too. We don't do that. It's in the eyes. And so those who are having addiction issues and they're watching porn, click, 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 click. The sensory is just boom, 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 boom. So 30 years ago, when I didn't have all that sensory overload, we could have sex 2 or 3 times a week. Now we have sex. We start at 7 p.m. We're done by 7:04, and then I'm in the computer room 4 hours. And she's wondering, did I do something wrong? Did I gain too much weight? Did I do this wrong? Yeah, 4 hours. And then lying to himself, talking about, I had some emails to. So anyway.
Wait. So the sex with the wife 4 minutes for 4 hours on the porn.
In the computer room checking emails, right?
Checking emails.
Yeah.
Wait, but you got a woman right there in the house.
Yeah, but I feel inadequate. I don't feel like she has a lot of expectations of me. I can't keep up with all that stuff. I married her, cool. In fact, if I could lock the key away. And cheating, let's do this in 30 seconds. Coach K, you're the only one I didn't talk about role play with. You're my wife.
Yeah.
Don't make this weird. I'm just role playing. This is what I would do with my partner.
You know I know.
All right, cool. At 2 a.m., let's have that short sex again. At 2 a.m., we have sex. We're done by 2:03. When we're done, you want a cigarette, I want a sandwich. We get up, and then we go to a 24-hour eatery. The server comes, let's say as a lady, High Value Wives, hey, I never met you. High Value Wives comes to seat us. And when she seats us at a booth, and she kneels into the other booth. Remember, I deal with inadequacy and trust issues and betrayal. And I have the wife where we trauma bond. We understand each other. We both dealt with betrayal and trust. So we're like this, okay? Boom. No paper, no pencil. What do you think I'm thinking already? She's going to mess up the order. So Coach K makes her order. What do you think I'm thinking? She's going to set the order. I don't intentional, but I'm intentionally make this crazy order. I want a triple burger, cut diagonal, no mustard, no mayo, put on the other side ketchup, jalapenos with no seeds. You got all that? And when she comes back with that order and puts it down, and she says, I wasn't leaving that kitchen until I know they made it right. Now, Coach K, my wife, can make that with her eyes closed. Why would I ever mess that up? Ever. Because when I heard I wasn't leaving that kitchen until I know they made it right, I felt heard, acknowledged, validated, accepted, loved, valued, so on and so on and so on. And if we're not getting that in our marriage, and if we don't get enough pouring into, we have to know our partner's level of intimacy. And if you got a tank, if you got a hole in your tank, you always think you're not good enough. You're always sad about this. You're always mad about that. You feel overweight. You feel ugly. You feel this, you feel that. And that tank is not being filled. When that depletes, you are now vulnerable to these words. So gentlemen, you have to know your wives' intimacy needs, inadequacy levels, and how to communicate with them, and vice versa. Please learn your man's vulnerabilities, which he's going to be afraid to talk to you about them, but build trust. Show him you can. When I do this here, I want Coach K to be like, look at you. She got you down. Should we have her make your burger tonight? Versus, what do you, I wish you would, da 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 da. But at the same time, how many times are we going to say that? At some point, I have to pull the plug and be like, you're tripping. You're playing yourself. You're not going to play me. You have to set boundaries. You have to make choices. It doesn't have to be divorce. We get married on Monday and talking divorce on Friday. That's not good. I'm talking about being able to set boundaries and know how to lead your home and how to have these conversations and reset, but do not allow the disrespect. So I'll leave it at
yeah, just to, what you said about how the wife like can make the husband feel inadequate. Like I was just having this conversation not too long ago, but if you ever seen the movie What's Love Got to Do with It, in the beginning when Ike first recruited Tina, when he started bringing her around, he was already married to the crazy lady. And when he was trying to seduce Tina, one of the things he said that stuck out to me was, she was saying, well, what about what's her name? And he told her, you know what? She did one of the worst things a woman can do to a man. She stopped believing in me. And that always stuck with me. And that I think there's something to that. I think that
there's a lot to that.
Yeah. And I think when our husbands know we don't trust them, when we're disappointed in them, when that like hangs over them, I think that that's one of the things, and I'm not saying that's the only thing that causes a man to cheat, but I think that that's something that can lead him down that path. And like you said, with the waitress, like it can be anybody that just gives me that feeling like they trust me, they want to depend on me. That's enough right there for me to betray you. So I think as women, it's important that we get the help we need to navigate different issues in marriage that would cause us to be disappointed in our husbands, to not trust them. Because if we let that sit for a long time, that can create other problems, even if he did something and it's actually his fault as to why we don't trust him, and why we don't depend. It can be his fault, but just us sitting in that and not moving, that can cause other issues. So I think that's a really good reminder, and I'm glad that someone like you exists that can help women to see that, because sometimes we sit in that anger and that disappointment and that resentment. We're not aware of what that does to the man. We're thinking, well, he needs to like make this right, because he needs to earn my trust. We're thinking, he needs to bow to me. We have no idea of like what you just said, unless we find out some way, unless someone breaks it down to us. So
right.
Just wanted to point out that's a good reminder.
If I could just interject for just a minute, I've seen that a lot, you know what I'm saying? But and it's the whole thing with this with what marriages are so short. It's like Mr. Bitter said, it's a covenant. That's a completely different contract. Real Pressure said it's a commitment. It absolutely is, but it's a commitment on a whole nother scale. Completely different measuring stick you use for that one. What you must do in a marriage, of course, communication and trust, but what you must do, an absolute must, is you have to give one another the time to change and the space to fail, because you're going to. You're both going to fail at something, but you have to give each other that space to do so and the time to make it right. If that person loves you and they respect the relationship and they respect the marriage, they're going to do everything they can. They may even fail at doing that, but you're going to see the effort going there. And you have to consider that. And that might be one of those situations where both of you have to pick up and carry that load. You know what I mean? But that's something I never hear anyone mention. Never.
Go ahead.
Both sides.
And it works on both sides. Both people need it.
Go ahead.
I just want to ask a question real quick. Oh, no, go ahead. Go ahead. No, you're
Sorry.
good. Go ahead.
I just wanted to throw in there that, I think we're much better at it with our kids too. If like I have a daughter, and anytime she messes up, she gets disciplined. But like after she gets her discipline, I always reaffirm her, and I always say, you made a mistake today, but that's okay, because I know tomorrow when you sit in that class, I know you're not going to talk. I know you're going to be a good girl because your mommy's good girl. You just had a bad day, So when we think of how we treat our kids when they mess up, like how we reaffirm them because we don't want them to, sit and stew in our disappointment because we want them to do better. So if we could just take that same attitude toward our spouses and after they mess up, even though it's difficult, I know like marriage is not for the weak. And for those of you who are married on this panel, Mr. Bennett, you're married 20 years. So I know you've been through some things. It's not easy, but if we can, give our husbands, and for husbands to give their wives the same grace that we would give to our children, I think that would, create a positive wave, and it would motivate our husbands to want to change versus sitting and stewing in our disappointment and it causing other issues.
And before Coach K asks her question, let me say this real quick. I'm not a huge fan of TD Jakes, right? But he said something that was so profound. He said, if women would treat their husbands like they do their sons, marriages would last.
Mhm.
And then he said a son can go and break a glass that she's had for 30 years that her mother gave her. The mother would go in and she would say what she had to say to the son. And then the next day she's hugging him and loving on him again. He said, but if it was her husband, she would hold a grudge for 4 weeks. She would cut him off from sex, conversation. She would cut him off from all the different things because she would be upset with him. And he repeated what he said again. If women love their husbands and forgave their husbands like they do their sons, marriages would last. Go ahead, Coach Cal. I know you had a question.
Good point.
This is really good stuff, and it's just reminding me of, when you kind of have an understanding of what's going on with either you or your spouse, like whoever has like the issue at the time, then you can focus on that versus making it mean something about that person, like inherently, like they just don't love me, or like making it mean, that they don't like you, but they're interested in someone else, where it's really like, oh, there's just a miscommunication here, that we just got to talk through or whatever. But I wanted to ask Doc about this is just briefly. So the stuff that you were talking about with the trauma, is that like referencing almost like, I see a lot of studies about kids whose moms are working and they're at daycare. So like when they need something, like, or even just in the like from 0 to 3, and if their mom's not there, let's say, then they have like attachment issues and then just those trust issues. Okay, is that kind of like what you were talking about?
Bingo. Dad works. I ask
Okay.
him to stay home, 12-hour shift. He says, very nicely, son, I can't. I double down and ask Mom, can you stay home Mom, stay the whole shift. Can you just stay 1 hour? And Mom says, sorry, babe, I got to go to work. And I say, why do you work so much? I was 5 years old. Why do you work so? She says, we have to feed you. Quit playing. And when I say, as a 5-year-old, I'd rather starve than for you to go to work for 1 hour. And when she giggles, laughs, smiles, pats my head, and then takes off the car, unannounced to her, what got locked in my brain is called schema therapy. What got locked in my brain was the schema of, I'm not good enough. I just told my mama I would die and she left anyway. So what pillar do you think that person is going to grow up on? But I'm not good enough. At 15, you should join the best. I don't know, man. No one's going to pick me. 25, I don't know if anyone's going to pick me. At 30, it's time to get married. That's an excellent choice for you right there. Yeah, I'm probably going to mess that relationship up.
Can I ask you a question on that, Doctor?
Mm-hmm.
Do you think that situation is better today than it was a generation ago? Because I don't recall, like I said, my dad's generation or what have you, those were the ones, they worked the plant 15 hours. You didn't see dad going to the basketball games, to every game. Right. You didn't see mom, because again, everything was busy. A lot of times you were raised by your older siblings.
Yeah.
So you didn't get that, but it seems like certainly since, this in this modern era, it seems like adults are paying more attention to making sure they spend time with the kids or go to the games or spend that time.
Yeah.
So
every generation, who's not who's the oldest? Who's the oldest? Who's the oldest?
most
Mr.
likely
Ben,
I.
All right.
Most likely
In the
I.
last 6 months, name one time you felt disappointed, hurt, or rejected in the 6 months only. Any part of your life, work, school, home, yourself. One time you felt disappointed in the last 6 months, hurt, or rejected. If you'll tell us.
6 months.
Mm-hmm.
Probably if my wife was, in my view, somewhat negligent of something or wasn't mindful of something that I would think at this point she should have known that would affect me in some way.
Okay.
I think I'm better at it now than I probably was certainly earlier in marriage, but I know that was something that very early on.
That happened in the last 6 months? That she's
Probably.
Okay, not mindful that she should have known. Let's put that to the side. How old are you? A rough number?
I'm 53.
All right. 53. Take us back to between the ages of 4 and 8. 4 and 8 only. And tell us about a time you felt hurt, rejected, or hurt, whatever. Hurt, rejected, or disappointed in any part of your life.
There's probably a lot because, again, it was
One
very
story.
One story.
Mm-hmm.
Just my dad not being there.
Okay.
It was, like I said, there was
one story. What happened? What was the story that you remember?
Him promising to take me somewhere and he didn't show up because he was because basically he was too drunk to do so. I'll say that.
Okay. Have you ever told your wife that story?
Not that specific story, but I certainly have talked a lot about my growing up and my upbringing and what I was surrounded around, but not that specific.
How old was this story you told me? The dad?
This was probably 10, 12, something in that. Because my parents, they were basically split by the time I was born. By the time I was born, they were basically cut off. So I would see him on occasion. So the times when I was supposed to see him, it was,
significant. All right, we'll just say 10. So in the 10-year-old story, promises were broken. Okay? Promises were broken.
Yeah.
53 minus 10 is 43. 43 years later, if you and your wife had these conversations about your vulnerability, or if she knows that you grew up in a single parent home, or if she knew that you really depend on her keeping her word, notice that from your 10-year-old story, it still impacts you 43 years later when someone is not mindful of your needs, even though they should know better. My dad lied to me enough. I don't need that from her. Please don't do that to me. You know what hurts me and what doesn't hurt me. Notice 43 years later, how that still impacts you. And those older generations that were divorced or worked hard, you know what I hear from a lot of the fathers? That's bull stuff. I don't want to hear that about my kid. My parents divorced. I worked hard. My dad worked hard, and they got, okay. Well, how are you and your son? We're good. I worked 3 jobs, and I worked 3 jobs, and I worked. Whoa, I'm sorry. What did you just say? Your father what? My father wasn't home. And you do what? I worked 3 jobs. I know the value of family. Oh, so technically it's the same thing. It's another generation of the father not being available. But because he works hard like his dad taught him, or try to have family like his dad didn't, is the same thing.
Right. So my question, because again, I think we started this show with the premise that marriages or relationships or families were better generations ago. But if that was built into those generations, then how can we then say that they were so much better off? We might have had, we might have coped with it differently, but it seems like now that we're talking about mental health and we're talking about going in the past, what you just took us through, that becomes an issue that wasn't talked about. Right. So in what ways are we saying that they were so much better than us? Because
they were less sensitive and they dealt with what they had. Mm-hmm. There wasn't a 13-year-old saying, I think I want to change my gender. And when you try to stand firm as a parent and say, no, not in our house, you won't. The 13-year-old didn't have a center to go down to or some clinic to say, don't, we'll give you the medications. There were parents could beat their kid, spank, beat, knock the hell out of them, whatever you want to call it. Now that's child abuse. So many things have changed that the world has become so sensitive that you can't hold your family, wife, partner, relationship accountable like you used to. So when dad was not available 20, 30, 40 years ago, it was still wait for your father to get home. I'm going to handle business, and then you're going to get a double dose when your dad gets home. Wait for your father to get home. Nowadays, if I'm told, you don't have to wait for him to come home. If he's that busy and you're not getting the help. We've turned super sensitive, and morals and values have shifted and changed, and it has destroyed relationships, even though we claim, boom, dad could never get a text 50 years ago, this BS and a text. Dad can never find out what's going on in the home by Facebook. He had to actually wait till he got home to handle business. Now it's fast, better tell me, better be. So we actually have destroyed the foundation of marriage. And back then they were better off because they actually dealt with things. They may not have dealt with their feelings, but they dealt with things. And that's why I say I think they actually got more accomplished.
I respect what you're saying. I don't know. I don't know if I would necessarily use that language. I think there might have been an overcorrection.
Yes.
But I don't think we were necessarily well or whole in those times. I don't know if anyone else in Pam Mandrill, I don't know how you feel about that, but I don't think that those were necessarily the healthiest times either. It was, like I said, it was different. And like I said, we might have way overshot the mark to where everything is every feeling is validated, but nobody was getting any emotional support or mental health.
Right.
Nobody was getting any of that.
Right.
And
But
you can't say that our people weren't more traumatized back then than they are now.
Right. I think there's a difference between not knowing and not caring. So before they didn't know the damage that was happening. Now I don't give a damn what if it is. Well, that's your problem. So there's a difference not knowing versus not caring. Having no support first and making it happen. Think about some of our other countries or poor families, and they seem to do better than the people who have a bunch of money and wasting resources.
And they're happier.
All right. So let me ask this last question, guys, and then we'll close out. Selective submission. I think that in some marriages, I've talked to a few men, or I've heard on a few panels, or out in the world here, that when you're married, this is what men are saying. It's amazing that my wife can have an attitude with me, and she can be upset with me, or she can have this mode or be in this mood with me. But if her phone rings, she smiles for her friend. She smiles for mama, right? She's happy to talk to mama. She's like all these other people. She's smiling with her coworkers and kikiing with her coworkers. And she goes to work and she laughs and everybody gets the best of her. But when she's here, she's in a different mode. Or it's selective submission where I'm going to submit to only certain things with my husband, but I'll go submit to my boss. I'll go submit to my dad, my mom, or any outside entity. And what I want to do is I want to play this video real quick. And then after the video, we'll start with the Real Precious to get her thoughts on this. Here we go. This is Charleston White. Now, a lot of stuff he say, I'll be Lord have mercy. But a lady asked him a question about submission, and this is what how he responded.
So I have a question. What if black women don't really have much to
but they
submit
do.
and serve?
Hold on. But they submit and serve to their baby daddies. The niggas they let impregnate them. So they submit and serving to somebody. They submit to the white boy on the job that mistreat them, that she complain about. She submit to the pastor that she go give her money to. So she submit and subserve. She just pick and choose who she want to submit and subserve to. And when she pick wrong, she blame the man. My mama told me, you attract who you are. So if the black woman don't have nobody to submit and subserve to, that's because
okay, so we'll start with you, Real Precious. Your thoughts on selective submission and what you heard in the video.
Selective submission as opposed to what I heard in the video. So I agree that we all have spirits, and you attract certain things in other people. I think there are some people who attract everything. I think there's some people you may attract who you are, but I think there are some people, like a healer is going to attract a lot of people that are broken.
Mhm.
And so you have to be able to filter out, when you're thinking long term with someone or you're thinking marriage with someone, you have to have those non-negotiables. You have to have those standards that you're going to hold the line on too. I think a lot of what he was talking about when spirits do attract one another, you have to get to a place where you're healed. You have to get to, because if you're not going to fully submit to a man, there's reasons why you're not doing that. He was saying how, you know, if you are abused, you may attract an abuser. Well, someone who is healed from abuse or doing the healing work of abuse is not even going to look the way of an abuser. And if they do come encounter with that abuser, they know they're out. They know that they're not even sticking around. I think people are not, again, being honest with themselves, and they are staying and being passive in situations where they should be communicating and being loud about things that matter, rather than faking the funk and staying around. And this week, you know, she's on cloud nine, and then, you know, the next week she's down in the valley and can't even get out of bed and depressed and don't want to do this for her husband, don't want to do that for her husband. I think when we stop being passive and we're able to communicate and just say the truth out of our mouth, it'll be easier to have that reciprocity of submission between both the man and the woman, because men are also supposed to dwell with their wives, meaning you're supposed to know her. So it's not just all on the woman as far as submitting to a man, because if you're becoming one, you know, and men want women to be submissive, they want them to be feminine, and all that stuff is great. But there are things that, you know, that should be required out of that man as well. And that is part of that is dwelling with his wife, meaning I'm getting to know you. I'm getting to know the areas in where you may have a deficit, and I'm actually stronger in that area than you are. But instead of watching you fail or drown, I'm going to help you in that area, even though it may bring out some things from my past, even though it might bring out some emotional, you know, things that I had to get through to actually get to a place where I can help people. So I think with selective submission, if you're picking and choosing when you're doing certain things, there's a reason, there's a blockage there why you're not doing those things. And you know, there's sometimes you're doing it, sometimes you're not. There's a reason. Maybe you just don't want to be with that person. And again, you're being passive, or you're letting things go that you shouldn't be letting go, and you should communicate about it.
Man, appreciate that perspective for sure. Lady Di.
So what's the question again? I was listening, but I forgot the question.
Yeah, selective submission. What you choosing to submit to only things that, well, let's just say it. You know, you're only choosing to submit to things that are important to you or that benefit you, but you're not being 100% submissive to your husband if you're married.
So, like the video was saying, you know, they will submit to the ones they want to submit to. But when it comes to the person that they chose, and this is my problem here, you chose this person. So if you chose somebody that you didn't want to submit to, then that sounds like your problem. And then that's not fair to that person. And then it's like a force that should have never been there. You should never been with them if you couldn't submit to them. So it's like, you don't have to settle with something that you're not interested in. And I see a lot of people settling for just the title part, or they want something out of that person, but they don't want all of the person. They're going to keep you at that space. Don't come over here. I only want you for this reason. And then they're not able to fully be themselves with this person, which is, you know, naturally submitting. So it's just a problem that is happening a lot. But I believe, you know, that's just an excuse, what I'm saying right now. If you chose to be with somebody, you need to do what you need to do to be committed and loyal and have sacrifice. Don't sit here and be lazy when it comes to the most important thing, because that job that you may have, you could get fired. There's no, unless you want a contract which, you know, that's depends on what type of job you have, you can get fired. So the same way that you put your best at your work, or the same energy you put your best with your family, the most important person to you is the person that you are laying next to every day, not the people outside of that. If you ain't laying with your mom, your dad, and all that, that needs to stay outside of your house. You're gonna go home. This is where domestic violence comes in at, because you're going home to issues that you can resolve. But when you go to work, you deal with issues all day, and you know how to fix that, right? But you can't fix what's in your house, in your bed. That's a problem. So that's called laziness. And laziness, everybody is lazy, right? You have a lazy moment. Today, I'm a little lazy today, right? Tomorrow, I might be lazy again. The next day, cool. But that's not where you settle in. You don't settle with being lazy, because you can't be lazy throughout your entire life. That means that your kids are not going to be fed. And if they are, they're going to be fed chicken nuggets, right? And all this nonsense. You need to make sure that you are giving them a nutritious meal. So it's the same thing. But then again, here's another excuse. I'm going to speak about women once again. A lot of us are very lazy if you just think about all of the wigs that we're wearing. Laziness. So then, as men, you're expecting a female to be a certain way when she ain't never going to be like that, because she's not like that with herself. So now what? Here's a real issue. Why is she like that? Why doesn't she want to take care of herself? That's an issue. And that's where, if you want to call it therapy or however you want to put it, now this person needs to be put in this space because something is going on. But that's what we're not doing. It's more so like, okay, you need to do this. But no, they can't, because they're not doing it for themselves. They're not submitting to themselves, so they're not going to submit to you. And of course, she's going to select who she wants to submit to, because she wants something out of it. If she don't want nothing out of that person, she wouldn't do it to you either. So it's a lot to talk about. So I try to narrow it down, but that's what I got.
All right. High value wives, what are your thoughts?
Yeah, I had a few thoughts. I wanted to say to Lady DT, I'm sorry,
Lady
Die.
Di, it's fine.
Yeah, no, I really appreciated what you said, and I think it's a good reminder for all of us. I don't know what's in the air, but you know, if you're a wife, you look, it's been a struggle. Okay, it's a struggle sometimes, and the women that I talk to, I enjoy helping them because it's real, like the struggle of laziness. Sometimes nobody's perfect. We're all dealing with things in our lives. A lot of us are dealing with anxieties and depression. You know, women aren't perfect, but I always try to preach, you know, try and push through. Watch your association, get around women who are fighting for their marriages, that are like really battling laziness, not the ones that kind of sit and stew in it and don't want to do anything about it, but surround yourself around the right women who are either doing well or fighting to do well. I had to let go of a friend not too long ago because she was having issues in her marriage and she wasn't acting right. And I was trying to counsel her, but she didn't want to listen to me. And she got defensive. She had a lot of excuses. And this was, matter of fact, I think I'm coming up on my year anniversary of not talking to her, but I had to let that friend go because you're going to pull me down with you. Like, I'm standing here, I'm fighting for my marriage too. You know, there are things that I'm battling. So if I hold on to you, you're just going to pull me down. So I'm all for friends who are fighting. You're not perfect in your marriage, but you're fighting, because we can fight together, you know, and I think that's what a real sisterhood is about. It's about women who are doing the right thing and we're pushing each other and we're helping each other. But if you're not trying to help yourself, if you don't want to do the right thing, then I got to let you go. And this was somebody that I've known since I was 9. You know, we have a lot of history together. And, you know, hopefully eventually she'll come around. But for now, while she's in that space, I had to let her go. So I would advise other women also, if you have that dead weight around you, if you're surrounded around women who don't want to do better, who don't want to be submissive to their husbands, be good wives, you know, if they're not fighting, that can bring you down, and you have to be aware of that. So I just wanted to you know, piggyback off of your comment. That was good stuff. But as I wanted to touch on Black Man Unfiltered, what you were saying about how like your mood can be bad with your husband, but you can get that phone call from your friend or your mom or your sister, and like you're all happy and laughing and joking. I mean, that I can't lie. That's something that my husband pointed out at one time too, because I'm thinking to myself, like, because I'm mad at you. I'm just mad at you right now. I'm not mad at my friend. I'm not mad at my coworker. So what happens is, just speaking for myself, those are sources, those are little pockets of happiness, the coworker, your mom, your friend. But your husband, he's at the moment, he's a source of unhappiness. So it's not even that deep. It's really simple to understand. I'm mad at you, so I have an attitude with you, but I'm not mad at my friend. I'm not mad at my mom. Those are sources of happiness, so I can laugh with them. So I would just advise women, if that's the case, you need to make sure that you're fixing things with your husband so he's not constantly experiencing that moodiness, that attitude. You know, the goal is to, like the Bible says, you don't let the sun set while in a provoked state, meaning
Yeah.
you don't go to sleep, you know, with and it's easier said than done, but you always want to aim to fix those problems with your husband. So yeah, we're women, we're gonna have our attitude sometimes, but we want to make sure that we're working hard to correct that attitude. Let's not let it sit for weeks and months and you know, silent treatments. But you're over here at your mom's house, y'all are drinking wine, you're laughing, you know, things aren't good at home, your foundation isn't good, your number one priority, you're not good, you know. So we have to make sure that our priorities are our families, and if we're having issues there, we want to make sure that, and I'm talking to myself. I'm talking to myself, because as I'm talking, like I need these reminders too. A lot of women, they hear me talk sometimes and they think that I'm a goddess floating among them. I'm just like you. Like, I'm imperfect and I have things that I have to work on. But one of the things I try to remind myself of is to, hey, like if there's an issue, like you can't, like you cannot just leave that sitting there. It has to get fixed. So yeah, that's it.
And one of the things that you just said before we let Coach K go, Doctor, I'm gonna let you go last because I'm gonna let you bring it home for us. So I don't want you to
I
assume
just had a question. So for high value wives, I was going to ask, would it be beneficial after a day or 2 or 3 days if your partner said, if the husband said, I hope you had enough time to, but we need to kind of get it together. Come tomorrow, I need to see a smile on your face or something like that.
You're saying, would that be a problem?
Would it be, a problem versus beneficial? Would you find that beneficial if your husband recognized there's some tension in the relationship? I'm going to give you your space and time, but after a while, we need to get back to good energy.
No, I would say the only issue I could find with that is that 2 or 3 days shouldn't have passed by, and why didn't I step up? And I think about that sometimes, because sometimes he has come to me like, hey, okay, let's figure this out. And I'm like, dang, see, I needed to go to him first. He been, you know, this is the second time he's come to me to work it out. So you kind of end up feeling a little silly, like, dang, you know, I should have been the mature one. I should have stepped up. So to answer your question, no, that's actually good of him to do. But you should also look inside of yourself and ask yourself, okay, why? Okay, this took 2 or 3 days. Why didn't I step up? Why didn't I say something? Why didn't I do something? You know, and maybe next time, because there will be a next time, you'll have another disagreement. I need to be the one to step up. I need to be the one to fix it and say, hey, babe, look, I apologize. I even encourage women to write letters. If it's hard for you to, if you have a lot of pride for whatever reason, you can write your husband a nice little letter, and you can get your feelings out, you know, let him know how you're feeling respectfully in that letter if it's hard for you to come to him. But, you know, just try to always aim to be the mature person.
And to add to that, before we get to Coach K, I remember growing up as a kid that my grandmother used to quote that verse all the time that you talked about, how value wise, when you said, don't let the sun go down when you're in a state of being provoked. And my grandmother used to say that all the time. And I remember they stayed on the farm. So, you know, the sleeping arrangements in the house back in that time was all close together. So I used to sleep on the couch directly beside their bed. And I remember the times that they would have a little disagreement, but at night when they're in the bed, I had to cover from my head, but I can hear them. And I can hear my grandfather saying, "Baby, I'm sorry for what happened today." And I can hear my grandmother say, "You know what? I love you too. I'm sorry." She said, "Let's just do better in the morning." Right? And they would go to bed. And I remember hearing that. I was like, golly. And as I got older and older, I'm like, man, that's what you want right there. You want to be able to have disagreements, but you also want to come back to the table and communicate that. And I think in those marriages back then, because they were married for 63 years. So back in that time, you know, I think that people didn't have a lot of pride. People was just open and very vulnerable and transparent. There was not a lot of pride in the way. Now, pride comes before the fall, and now you see the fall. 70% of marriages end in divorce, right? So, right, because people are so prideful, and just imagine how many marriages would be saved if a husband and a wife just sat down and had a conversation.
Can I also say something?
Go ahead.
Because
and then Coach K right after her.
Even I believe Mr. Bennett said it, how back in the older generations, you really didn't talk about your feelings. I think back then it was more so duty driven. It was almost like shut up and work type of an attitude. We're gonna get this work done. We're gonna get this accomplished because we have a mission. And now in today's society, where you can just put up a meme or blurt out your feelings subconsciously on, you know, you can talk about people when you post it and they don't know you talking about them, but you know you talk about
subliminal messages.
Yeah. There is no happy medium with that being an inclusive or intimate actual activity. You're doing it with the world, you're doing it on your social media, but you're not doing it with the person that you actually need to be doing it with. And so it seems foreign and it seems very like fragile, and you don't know how to approach it. When in actuality, like you talked about earlier, when you call your mom or call a friend, you have that lightheartedness about you. And I think that seeing communication or communicating with someone may seem like a daunting task when you don't do it. It may seem like, you know, it's the hardest thing in the world, harder than learning how to ride a bike, it's the hardest thing, because the things that you want to say are probably going to hurt, whether it hurts you or the other person. And nobody wants to hurt anyone, not intentionally anyway.
Can I just say like something for 5 seconds?
Yeah.
I think that the healthy way to go about this is the only person, and I don't want to say this and it's like a wrong way, but honestly, the only person you should be calling is your husband. And that's that. You guys figure out problems together, and then you call your other people for other things that are not issues. You're going to learn how to work with issues with him. So when things come across, you guys can handle it better, and it won't be feeling like this is so hard to do. You practice that, and it's not going to be hard. It's just going to be life. Then you won't be thinking of it in a negative way. You'll think of it in a positive way. So that's just.
I just want to ask you a question. Do you so for marriages that are 30 and 40 years old, do you think that that's realistic to within those 30 and 40 years, every time you guys have had a problem, and marriages go through a lot of ups and downs and highs and lows, and some go really, really low. Do you think that that's possible to perfectly, only talk to your husband or only talk to your wife when there are problems? Can that be done flawlessly?
So how I look at it is, before you get married, it's really just communication. So before you get married, this communication should have been established anyway. It's not going to be perfect though. So I'm not saying that, because as you get older with the person, you're going to grow into different ways, but you want to grow together. But if in the beginning, the communication was never there where you guys can even do that, it's going to be harder when you're in your marriage. Now, it's not the end of it. It's just that you still can learn it in the marriage, because that's saving. It's really saving your marriage. Once you come to that space, because it takes a while. Once you come to that space, you can start including people. But I think that secluding yourself from these people should be like something that can happen like the first 3 months. Don't call everybody. Talk to him, and vice versa. Because if you just work, practice going somewhere else, when you're gonna miss, I don't know who made the analogy of you didn't realize my cup was turned over a little bit to the left. You're gonna miss these things. You want to make sure that your full attention after work or whatever it is that you're doing is on him, because there's so much that happens in just a month that you want to make sure that you're always there. And I'm not saying that's perfect. That's just what we could strive to do. And once you get in that rhythm of doing it, it's gonna feel like weight is lifted off. And that is like a healthy marriage. Like I don't want to say healthy, it's just a better way to do it.
Yeah, I think spirituality and therapy also helps with that communication as well, because you can't if you don't know how to communicate, like I said, going to your husband is going to be a daunting task. Like you're going to be scared to do it.
No, you
I
shouldn't be
think
scared,
I think that's why God is needed,
Mhm.
because there are going to be times where they say love is patient, love is kind. Sometimes you're going to have to be patient and not knowing. And women don't like to not know. Women like to know. They like to be certain. They want to, know that you're making a certain amount. Know that you have a certain plan. And I think that's truly where God comes in at, because they're just, and that's why we, need men. But we have to be underneath of God, because there are just going to be things that he doesn't know about you and you don't know about him. But being patient and not wanting to go see your mom or your dad or things like that, that comes with the relationship with God. And you got to have that way before you get married, because that has to be a principle and a belief that you carry with you, that you both know that, hey, we not getting it right now. But maybe if I send you an encouraging message, you send me an encouraging message, maybe that'll speak to me. Maybe I'll hear that and not necessarily hear you, but I hear what you're trying to communicate to me.
To be honest, I don't think it's realistic to do flawlessly. What I would advise is make sure you have a trusted advisor, preferably a therapist or some kind of life coach. I don't recommend going to your parents, your brothers, your sisters, because we've probably all heard it been said before. You guys will make up and they will never forgive your husband, and you have to protect your husband's name in that way. So you have to really try your best to refrain from your blood relatives and your friends. But sometimes you may have to talk to somebody else. Everything is not a quick fix. And for those of you who have been in long-term relationships, they're not filled with paper cuts. Some are literal stab wounds and gunshot wounds. These, some of us have been through some deep stuff in our marriages, and it's not, sometimes you're not able to talk right away. Sometimes your husband may not even want to talk to you, and in that case you may need some to draw some strength from somewhere. So I would just advise women, just be very mindful of who you're talking to. Like I said, have a trusted advisor, someone that can help you to problem solve, someone that can, pray with you, someone who's going to, encourage your marriage, because, sometimes our husbands, they may have some low light moments. And if you share that with your parents or your brother or your sister, they may see him in a completely different way. And they may never, ever let that go. See, they can forgive your low light moments all day and still view you as their little cupcake. But he's not allowed to have those low light moments, not in their eyes. So make sure you're just mindful of who you're talking to. I think it's ideal to just only talk to your husband about your problems, but I don't think that's realistic long term. You want to always aim for that, but if you can't, plan B should be a trusted advisor.
High family values. I think it goes both
I
ways.
agree with
Because we used to have, the watering hole after work or the barber shop or whatever. That's where oftentimes men decompress and have those sessions where we may be talking about stuff. And a lot of the guys, a lot of us are going through the same thing. That's why we can nod our heads and say, yep, we had that same situation. So I think, to that end, again, who you surround yourself with, I think is important. But I think we all need those, those relief vows. And going back generations ago, I think that's certainly how it was. You know, you wouldn't necessarily go straight home after work. The guy would drop off at the bar, or whatever, with his buddies to, you know, to decompress a little bit before they would go back to their life at home, whatever that was, good, bad, or indifferent. So I do think that is something, and I think everyone should have, if not a prayer partner or a mentor, I think someone who can be impartial. I do think that can be a benefit to a lot of people.
But Mr. Ben, I didn't even think of like it from the man's perspective, but I think the men actually will have it a little bit more tougher, because I think when it comes to making up, I think, in my opinion, I believe women are the most difficult, because men are natural problem solvers. I feel like when a woman humbles herself before a man and apologizes, I just don't know a lot of men who are gonna no, you know, and I'm gonna just continue to give you the silent treatment, because, you know, men want that peace. But you hear about men trying to please their wives and women making it insanely difficult. So I'm talking from the woman's perspective, but looking at it from the man's perspective, a lot of men are dealing with women who just want to be difficult, you know, because we're just different. So men especially, like, you know, have it more difficult in that area, and I think are more susceptible to, you know, sharing their business with other people. Because if I can't talk to my wife, if I can't work it out with her, then what am I going to do? I mean, do you just want me to you just want me to sit here in pain, you know? So either maybe they'll go towards pornography, maybe they'll open up to a female coworker, or maybe they'll cheat. But, you know, men will find different avenues if they can't communicate with their wives. So I'm just glad you brought that up, because on the flip side, women, we have to be open to, whenever our husbands are trying to problem solve, whenever they're trying to fix things, continuing to make it difficult and giving him the silent treatment, that's also going to lead to other issues. And you don't want those issues.
Right. And so, Coach K, you can go ahead and get yours out, and then we go to Hink. I know Hink had something to say as well.
I'll be quick, because this was all good stuff. I think if you're being selectively submissive, you're making a choice either way. So I think some of it I could find understanding, in the sense that maybe they're just used to being around their husband. It's familiar, it's comfortable, but at the same time, that's on you to not go into autopilot and to start neglecting, you know, what is familiar in your home and things like that. Like, you still need to be intentional, especially when this person is the person that matters most. So I would say, like, either way, whether you're aware or not, you're making choices. You're choosing to not be submissive and to be submissive to other people, or you're choosing, you know, vice versa, whatever. You're making choices either way. And also too, I think, and Lady Di can always correct me. I think it's important that if you are having an issue with your husband, if you're not ready to talk about it, then take some time, whatever, but don't talk about it, you know, with other people, because really the person you got to talk about it with is him. But oftentimes, I think there's just been a lot. So I'm like losing my train of thought here, but sometimes it's just being stubborn. But it could be the silliest things. I don't know. I already forget where I was even going to go with it. Oh, part of it is like, I think women might be uncomfortable to talk about it and to maybe have to apologize because they know they were wrong. So they'd rather just talk shit with their friends. And that kind of brings a little bit of comfort, but not really, because they're still going to have, you know, an issue when they get home because it was never resolved. But really, it's just like, it's funny because me and my husband will just be jerks to each other, and then we'll kind of like laugh, like just tiffs, you know. Then we'll just be like, you know, like I was being a brat. You're right, you know. And then we get over it. It's like, well, I don't need to rehash this with you and make you feel bad just to feel like I was in the right. You know what I mean? It's just so childish. Sorry, I'm just trying to be quick here. That's it.
All right, Hink. So, what are your thoughts, Hink?
I mean, I kind of agree with what Lady Di was saying. As far as the circle, it's between me and my wife, and we're not going to let outsiders influence us in ways we don't need to be influenced, right? Because they don't understand the situation. And as far as, you know, as far as going and tell other people, the bad part about it is Not that she just told, but they only heard her side. Now, if you have me there as well as my significant other, and we're able to both get our sides out and share that with somebody who we can confide in, I'm okay with that. I'm cool with that. But if it's just her side and that's all you know, so now there's a bias. I'm talking to your mother and she's just hearing your side. She's not going to be unbiased. I don't care what she says. That's your daughter. You're supposed to be biased towards your daughter. Or that's my mother. She's supposed to be biased towards her son. Or the father, or whoever the case may be. So I don't believe in bringing somebody else. Now, if that's a problem we can't resolve, then that's when we go to canceling. That's when we bring a third party in. But if not, we're gonna figure this out. We're gonna figure this out. Some way, somehow, we're gonna figure this out. So I that's one of the things I always talk about. Men having a tough conversation. I talked about on my show. You got to have the tough conversation. Part of those tough conversations, ask those type of questions. How would you handle situations when they come up? Situations where y'all can't agree, or y'all get into a falling out over. How would you handle it? What do you think the best way is to handle it? And we both agree we're not allowing somebody else in our marriage involving ourselves. No, we're not doing that. And matter of fact, I don't even want to hear about someone else's issue if I can help it, because then they could, do things to you, make you feel some type of way. I compare my spouse to your spouse, and I tell her about that all the time. I said, don't do that. Don't compare me to your girlfriend's husband. How fair is that? If that's the case, you need to go be with that dude. Don't be with me, be with him. Sound like that's who you want to be with, since you like everything he does for her. How about y'all all join to party together? The hell with that. No, we're not doing this. So yeah, if we got any issues, we're gonna have to figure it out somehow, some way.
Absolutely.
Whether we have to table it or come back to it later on that day, or maybe tomorrow if it gets too heated or out of hand. But we're gonna have to figure this out. And again, if we can't, we'll bring in a third party. We'll definitely have to go to counseling. Do what we have to do.
All right, appreciate you, Hink, man. JT, man, thank you for being here, brother. So JT, what are your thoughts, man, on selective submission? Then we'll move to Mr. Bennett. Then we'll close out with we'll get to Mandriel, then we'll get the doctor in, and we'll be done, guys.
Yes, sir. I didn't hear everybody, but when we're talking about selective submission, did you have a specific question about it?
Yes. So when we say selective submission, basically you're married, but you don't submit to your husband. But when you go to your job, you submit to your husband, you submit to your mom, you submit to your dad, you submit to all these other people, and they get your time and the benefit of your happiness, even if they made you mad. I've seen situations where two sisters would get into a argument, real heated argument on Thursday, and Saturday morning they're at the mall, right? But when it comes to the husband, she's holding out on him a week and a half, I don't want to talk to you. You get on my nerves, blah, 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 so on and so forth.
So you are capable of letting things go. Got it.
Right, exactly. And so, and I told, I ain't gonna say his name, but I told him, I was like, bro, she hadn't talked to you since that stuff happened. No, man, she ain't talked to him. I was like, okay. He said, but when it comes to her sister, they can argue and fuss and fight about everything. And she's right back over there, and they good again. They watching TV together. She comes over to the house. So he's in his mind, he's thinking, why is it so easy for her to do it with her mom and her sister and her brother? But when I ask her for forgiveness, I have to carry it along for a few days to make you pay for how you piss me off. But JT, go ahead.
Yeah, so I kind of experienced it a couple of times, right?
Mm-hmm.
My ex-wife, when we first got married, probably our first 2 years of marriage, it was kind of built that way. 22 years old, both of us was 22 years old, And it was kind of like, yeah, she was more apt. She had to go to work every day. She had to do all these different things. But when it came down to me, it was kind of selective. She was kind of selective when it came down to it. Now, this is the craziest thing. She learned throughout the 10 years of our marriage. We got a divorce after our 10 years, but she learned throughout them 10 years of how to be at a point where that being with me, that it's kind of like she learned that she had to take her time with me, right? It was other things that caused our divorce. When it came down to it, wasn't a problem with submission. It was probably a problem with a change of scenery, family members, all these other things that came down. And she didn't want to divorce, but it took 20 years for me to find out that that wasn't what she really wanted to do. She was trying to get me to be submissive to her. With that being said, many relationships after that, I was spoiled in that marriage, right? Didn't realize it until I started dating. And from that point on, I always took dating seriously, or courting seriously. And some of these relationships lasted 2 weeks for the simple fact that these women were not trying to be nowhere near submissive to our relationship. It was those problems. They had outside people in their relationships. At that time, I was a seasoned man. So I knew what I wanted in a relationship. And they actually got mad at me because I let those relationships go way before they thought that I should have. They thought that I should have, try to tough it out and all these different things. But I knew what I wanted because of what I learned in my marriage. So right now, let's fast forward to where I'm in right now. The relationship I'm in right now, it's kind of like she's 100. She's like, whatever I need to do to make sure that this relationship is going to work. But on the same point, I have to show her that I'm the man that she's dependent on. First thing that I had to let her know is that I'm responsible for you. You're responsible for me also, but no, I'm responsible for you. And and I think it just came from just me being a seasoned man. And I was really serious about what it was that I wanted. Before this year is out, I will be married because of those things, because she's putting so much of an effort in. I can see it. I saw it from day one, and I can see it now. I mean, she's pleasant, not only to me, but to everybody in her surroundings. When we go to her jobs, and how people tell me how much of a lucky man I am being with her. It's been 2 years we've been together. There's no doubt in my mind that this is the woman that I'm definitely going to be responsible for. I'm not a big guy on proposing and all these, things like Valentine's Day and things like that. But I think she deserves it. Just because I'm seeing the effort that this woman is pushing forward. I'm at all. I thought I seen it all.
She about to go buy that dress. Look.
And she makes me want to be able to actually tell everybody, man, I think I found this one. This one right here is just, it's like we found a good thing in each other. So when it comes down to it, man, I don't see any. I went through a lot. I went through a lot to get to where I'm at right now. But my thing is that this is why when I get on a panel like Black Man Unfiltered and all these other panels that's pushing for marriage, I'm all in for it. I'm all in because I know that this works to build a family. So at the end of the day, when we're talking about submission, I think that as men, we have to submit to God, right? However you look at God. And if the woman submits to us, I think our lives go better. She trusts everything that I do. Sometimes it scares me. Sometimes it scares me because it puts me at task, and I have to be at task at 24/7. I got to be at task. But I'm cool with that, and I'm very comfortable with being that man for her. So when it comes down to it, she's submitting to me. I'm submitting to God, and I'm gonna end that.
All right, man. Appreciate you, brother. Man, Mr. Bennett. I don't know how you gonna top that, brother, but go ahead, man.
I don't think I can. As far as the selective submission, it's about what you value. I think at the end of the day, I mean, what she's kind of inherently saying is that those things she may value more, at least in the short term, more so than long. I can certainly say that over the course of my marriage, like I said, we've certainly had our highs and lows, but over the long haul, I'm a better person because of my marriage. And one thing I wanted to say was that, sometimes I hear in these areas talking about marriage, it's like you have to kind of get to a certain level of thought process and cleaning everything out and being, get yourself together before you get married. And for me, marriage has been therapeutic in that it's helped both of us, I think, just become better overall. My wife more empathetic, me more patient, all of those things. Mm-hmm. So in the long run, it's a better value. I mean, it's like, you can pay the money, you can pay now or pay later for items. And I think for us, the more it's better now in a lot of ways, simply because I can look back and see, wow, like that was a good choice. Like, yeah, we got through this, or, that was a situation, but look at where we are now. We're so much better for it, for her trusting me. Even when I made mistakes, she still didn't lose, faith and respect me for doing things. That just made me want to step up more. So, I heard in some of the comments earlier, yeah, it may feel like you're in a struggle for a while, but in the long run, you develop those muscles. I just remember that story about the person pushing against the rocks, and they're just pushing and pushing, and doesn't seem like they're going anywhere, and says, why am I pushing against these rocks? And then the person comes up to him and says, well, look at the muscles that you built in the process of doing all that work, where don't seem like you're going forward, but you have. And now we're at a state in our marriage now with our kids almost being out the house, where we can look back and say, yeah, we did, based on especially what we came from. We both came from not functional households, but the fact that we were able to do what we've done. And again, we're now starting to look at this next chapter in our lives, excited about this next chapter in our lives that's coming up. It is worth it. But back to your original question about the select, yeah, it's about what you value. And if you don't value, like, it's like the whole sweets and broccoli thing. If everyone wants the sweets now, but no one wants the broccoli. No one wants the good stuff that's good for you for the long term. But unfortunately, that's where a lot of priorities are right now. So that's really at issue, why people are selective with it. They see more value in their boss, or they see more value in their friends, or they see more value in the guy who may excite them and thrill them and have a good time with them, and maybe even excite them in bed or whatever it is. But even the choices they're making then, because your boss can go away, your friends, or that guy you decide to have a baby with, whatever, they can all go away from you. But that man who's trying to do right by you, once you start getting into our ages, you start to understand. It's like, yeah, good move that I stayed the course with this thing. So that's on the selective issue. I hope I answered your question.
Absolutely, Mandrell. Never mind.
Okay. Yeah, no, okay. When it comes to selective Selective of submission. Women should be selective when it comes to submitting. Okay, you should be. The problem is that a lot of women choose wrong when they submit. When it comes to who they submit to, the whole thing Charleston White said about you attracting what you are, that's a crock of shit. Every single woman I've ever dated in my life has been nothing like me at all, except the one I'm with now. Yeah, no. I've been through I've been in relationships where women have cheated, lied profusely. They were selfish. Every single one of them, selfish. I'm not that person. I'm extremely selfless. But I don't lie to them unless it's like I got a surprise coming. I got to redirect them somewhere. But I mean, my thing is that whole thing. My point is that whole thing is just, and I've never cheated on anyone ever. So that whole thing, you attract what you are. No, you don't. You don't. That's just a cop out that people use to explain their poor decisions. It's something they tell people to make them feel better about their poor decisions. That's all it is. But as far as selective selection, I think women should be very selective as to who they submit to. They should be more patient before they jump in the sack with a person, because that's when feelings really start to get tied in. When you're that intimate with someone and you're sharing each other's body and you're experiencing one another, that's when the real stuff happens. And that's how a lot of people, particularly women, get skint up, and they get wounded, and that wound scars, and then it forms a callus. And sometimes they get scarred so bad that callus turns to stone. And then when they do meet the right guy, it's extremely hard for him to break through that. And it also makes that woman very afraid, even if she doesn't notice it. And, that makes it difficult when you do find the one. And this happens in men as well. We're not exempt from this. It makes it difficult when you finally do meet the one you're supposed to be with, and shit doesn't always go the way it's supposed to. You both have to do a lot of work just to get to know each other, which is the way it is anyway. But you have to be patient because, they say time heals all wounds. True. But if you're in it for the long haul and you plan to marry this person, or you are married, you got the rest of your life to figure this out, which means you have to pace yourself and be patient.
Come take a look.
You're not going to have all the answers in one day or in an hour. Sometimes it may take you weeks to figure something out. Months. I mean, talk to some married couples. There's some married couples out there that tell you that it took them years to get over. They went through some things it took them years to get through. These things happen. Marriage and relationships, they ebb and they flow. They're ups and they're downs. But like Hank said, I really need to know how you handle the downs. Yeah. The ups are easy. We're all going to have fun. We're all going to enjoy things when they're ups. But when it's down, I need to know who you are in that moment, because I know who I am. And there it is, people. I mean, get to know yourself and know who you are when pressure is applied. If you're a person who's not good with pressure, be honest with your partner or your husband. I'm not good under pressure. Or if your partner tells you, I don't think you're very good with pressure, don't be offended. He's probably telling you that, so that's something you can probably try to work on yourself, or let him help you work with him, or her help you work on it. You work on these things together. So as far as selective submission, women should be selective. I think that's a problem now, Black man. They're not very selective as to who they submit to. They fall. They meet a guy, they catch feelings, and then because of those feelings are there, they submit to him, and then this dude ain't worth 10 cents.
Hey, Mandel.
Hold on. Yeah, go ahead.
I just wanted to ask him a question on that. Like, what if she's already married to him? Do you still feel like she should be selective in Like what she submits to?
No, listen. If you're married, you should be submitted to him. Period. What are you doing? What were you doing before you got married? I mean, you know what I'm saying? Like, and I get it. Even when you're married, you're still learning things about your partner. But the important things you should know. And I get it. It ain't perfect. There's some things you're going to find out about that person after you're married, and it might be important. I understand that. However, that's when you go to your partner and say, hey, I noticed this, that, and the other. I suggest we do thus and so, because this is probably going to be an issue for me. You know what I'm saying? And then even if there's a conflict with him about it, he as the head of the household should be of sound mind enough to be willing to compromise and find middle ground there, and something that's going to work to both of you's benefit. If it's therapy that he needs, okay, listen, I'll go to therapy. You know what I'm saying? Try it, at least. You know what I mean? I mean, and like I said, people in any relationship, marriage or otherwise, give each other the time to change and the space to fail. That's just as essential as trust, love, and all the rest of it.
All right. Well, Mandrell, tell them about your show on Wednesday.
Yeah, I do a show called Unapologetic with Mandrell and Shushu. Shushu is my younger sister. And yes, people, she is my biological real sister. Yes, we grew up in the same house. Yes, we have the same parents.
I didn't know that. That's interesting. I didn't either. I've been on.
Wait, you guys
with Shushu before.
You guys know all of you know Shushu, but no one knows me. See, Black man, you see, Black man, nobody knows.
I didn't know you guys were related. I'm saying,
right? Yeah.
yeah. That's my younger sister. 6 years apart.
Oh wow.
Yeah, and I was a hero growing up. She's always trying to run behind me and do what I do.
Oh.
Good thing.
All right. Well, that's
it is. We're still tight to death to this day.
That's good.
Yeah, she's in Hawaii right now. I saw the pictures.
Yeah.
For her birthday.
She enjoying herself. But so Mandrell, thank you for being here tonight, man. Thank you for giving your perspective. And much love to you, man. And I'll talk to you later, brother.
All right, I still need to talk to you about something.
All right, that's fine. I got you. I'll call you.
Okay.
All right. What?
Tonight.
What? I'll call you tonight. Bro.
Okay, it ain't gonna take long because I'm about to go to
Mandrell,
sleep. So.
All right.
Huh?
You have time for a quick question?
Go ahead.
You know the TV show Survivor?
Yes.
If you were on the team, what would they say you bring? Why keep you on the team? What qualities do you bring?
Because if you left me outside in the woods by myself, I could live there forever. I can survive there forever. I can make my own shelter, fire, hunt. Yes, I can do. Yes, I was literally trained by the government to do just so.
Okay, so those are the qualities you bring.
Well, that's one of the qualities.
Yep. The qualities and skill set or traits or characteristics that we bring to Survivor are also what we attract in our personal relationships.
Oh,
wait. Is it though?
Period.
Yes, it is.
Check it. Everyone ask themselves, what would you bring to Survivor? I'm the go-getter. I'm the problem solver. And look at the relationships you are in. I'm the go-getter. I'm the problem solver. Think about it.
Who is?
Oh, thank you, Mandrell. I'm gonna call you. I'm definitely calling you after this.
I mean, that still needs to be fleshed out. His answer does.
Yeah. Flush it, watch it, check it out. Just think about it.
No. I am thinking about it. But the thing is, but I've always had strong willpower, and like I said, they've all been selfish and self-centered, and not every one of them, no. But the vast majority of them, you know what I'm saying? But they're all also different in so many different ways, you know what I'm saying?
And what's the word what's the word I told you to stop using?
Vast.
Start with a B.
Oh. Yeah.
But
I know what you're saying. I wasn't gonna say it. So
okay, all right. Well, you have a good evening.
I'll use however.
However is fine. And I'll call you right after this, brother. Much love to you.
No problem.
All right. The beautiful, ladies and gentlemen, The Real Precious in the building tonight, man. Thank you so much for being here, The Real Precious. And what is your perspective and your final thoughts for the show tonight? And also, tell everybody how they can reach you and how they can subscribe to your channel.
My final thoughts are, in a world full of information, in a world full of access to information, when we don't know something, we have to seek after it. We have to be eager and seeking after the knowledge that's going to help us, just like we seek after things that benefit us daily. Just like we go through the training at the job, just like we go for the degree and sit there for 4 years to walk across the stage. We have to be willing to seek after that knowledge, whether you're in that stage of life, whether you want to head down that stage, that road in life. Be very active and participant in your success, and no matter what that is. And but coming up Sunday, actually, Dr. Nakombe is going to be on the Adoptee Show. So I'm looking forward to that. And that's Sunday evening at 7 p.m. Eastern. And thank you again for having me. I really appreciate you.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And guys, please go over. She's doing great work, man. She had some shows on vulnerability. I went over and was on the panel with her. Man, great show, great conversation. Man, it was amazing to be over there. So make sure you subscribe and go like all her videos and share her content, because she's really out here doing the work as well. And her shorts are amazing too. Her and Lady Di too. I don't know which one to pick. Y'all shorts be off the chain. But thank you so much for being here. I appreciate you.
Thank you, guys.
Absolutely. All right. JT in the building tonight from What We Know Podcast. JT, what are your final thoughts, man? I think he was emotional. He went in to hug his fiance. So we're gonna give him a minute. Okay, JT. 3, 2, 1. Yeah, he ended with his fiance. Okay. How about your wives? What is your final thoughts? Oh, she gone too? Okay, yeah, she gone. Go ahead, Lady Di.
Final thoughts. So I think that this was a great show. And we should definitely have the conversations that are uncomfortable, because that's the whole point, is to get comfortable. But we have to talk about the things that are uncomfortable. And I feel that most of us don't want to do it. And when we start doing it, we see people bringing up all of these excuses on why they can't do something. And that's okay. That's just a part of the that's part of the process. We all were there at one point, but we got to get to a point where we're not like that. So it's just called growth. And I'm just kind of relating this to marriage, because at the end goal, most of us kind of want to end there. So when you get into a marriage, these type of things need to be established. It doesn't have to be in the beginning. It's always best sometimes. But as long as it's established eventually and you guys ride it out to the end, then that's great. So that's my final thoughts on that. You guys can find me at Dating to Marriage Support on YouTube. And also you could type in Lady Di DTM, which stands for Dating to Marriage. Me and my husband go live on Saturdays at 9:30. I kind of keep changing the live days because I'm trying to have that work balance, life balance, family, all of that. So right now, Saturdays are working. And I do include my husband more so now, because most of the time you guys see me, but he will be on there. We also help couples in the dating to marriage phases, which you can find on datingtomarriagesupport.com. And you could book me or my husband to help you with anything that you need help with. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yes, thank you. And it was nice talking to the doc. That was cool. I like that.
Pleasure. Thank you.
Bye.
Absolutely. Thank you so much. And tell your husband, thank you for allowing us to borrow some of your time as well. I know you're balancing everything, so I appreciate him too.
Yes, I will. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. The doc. All right, man. Give us your final thoughts, everything that you're thinking, man. And the floor is yours.
You bet. Now, I'm thinking about the title. We were talking modern day and traditional. In my mind, traditional and modern.
Right.
We have some weak men we have some weak men who they know the words, but are they really? Because if I get a job, they give me the job description. There's probably a tour and there's on-the-job training. Are the men offering on-the-job training, so to speak, so their wives know how to submit, when to submit, or what is submission? What is that? And if we go by modern day, or if we pending what realm we're in, submission means weak. Another realm, submission means strength. If I choose not to curse, I choose not to use the N-word, I choose not to drink, it takes strength to do that. I choose not to run to some woman because me and my woman have problems, that takes strength. I choose to cook clean, that takes strength. So submission is not a weak thing. But at the same time, why can't I help my partner from time to time? I have a rule. And those who I am in a relationship with, first of all, I'm a comedian. So what's that TV show, Dating Funny or something like that? I'm like that. I'm like, wait, what's wrong? You can't pout for too long, okay?
Right.
But at the same time, the energy lost, the time lost, if we go back to what our agreement is in the relationship, we can find where the hurt is. The hurt is something personal. Something was missed. You're not talking to me for days because something was missed. We're missing something. It doesn't mean we're going to be happy-go-lucky but why can't I say, oh man, you know what? You hate when I come home late for dinner. You hate when I come home late for dinner. Let me do my part. And vice versa. If she knows my vulnerability, she knows what helps to build me up. And if we take the time and the courage, do we have family meetings anymore? Do we have discussions in our relationship with the pastor anymore? Do we have conversations with support group for the ladies, like support group at church, support group, men's group, support group, not the guys getting together talking crazy, support groups. Are we doing that? I want to wrap up by saying the selective submissive part. I wrote some notes here. What are the benefits that I submit to work, get paid? What are the benefits that I submit to these friendships? I get some type of attention. So learn the benefits in your relationship and or make those known. And then after that, I shouldn't have to ask, beg, plead. It should be a working agreement. I was thinking about Hank in the basement, that show I was on with him, when he said if his woman acts up in the restaurant, she's done. And I thought about it, and what I actually love about that, at some point, people will only treat you how you allow them to treat you, right? And if you want to be, almost like working with a teenager, if you want to be the boss or do whatever, cool. It's just, it won't be in this house. And I think I heard you talk about that before too. If you have a different agenda, no worries. We're just not on the same page, and it's not meant for us to be in the same. But if we're going to work the same agenda, we have boundaries. We stick to them. I take care of myself and my mental health. I'm also responsible for you. I set limits. It's not about punishment, but we work together. And I think that would help tighten up that submission piece, or where we put that energy, Find God together. Now, I'm not highly religious, but some type of higher power is more than what we can do. Where's that energy coming from? Where's that source coming from? If you believe in the book, don't just find the scriptures or the chapters that work for you. It says in here, I can hit my wife. Is that all you know? Don't find the stuff that works, but find it all. Be fair, firm, and consistent. Be consistent. You want to talk about something to not work in a relationship. If you don't have consistency, it's a wrap. So I thank you for the opportunity to be on the show. There was a question we had in the chat. Someone had asked.
Okay. What was it?
But I gotta find it, and I apologize. I was tracking it for a while. Where did it go? Sorry.
Do you remember what it said? Paraphrase a little bit, maybe.
Yep, it was from one of the ladies in the group. I'm assuming she's a lady. She was responding to someone else to say, marriage is not the only way. So S hopeful. SOL.
Oh yeah, I know who it is.
Okay.
That's a guy. That's a guy.
Okay,
I know.
sorry. All right.
Yeah.
All right. So that's another thing that's challenging marriage.
Right.
We're told, we're pushed other agendas. Going back to those values and roots and morals and family traditions. But if we start going a different trajectory, we could be friends. We could be friends with benefits. We can be married for tax purposes, but we can wait until we get 60 and about to die, then get married. We have a lot of things that are challenging the foundation and the belief of marriage and it working. Marriage is for a reason. And if you get into the memes and social media and doing what other people say, you can miss out on the grand opportunity. But again, I'm not here to force anyone or push anyone. I work with couples all the time. And what I do is I work to get to the root of the relationship conflict. Because remember when I talked about a pillar, and if you grew up on this pillar and I grew up on this pillar, man, if I have mama issues, I'm looking for a woman that would give me the nurturing that I always wanted my mother to give me. But then when I finally get that woman, I spend the rest of the time trying to destroy her because I feel like my mama didn't give me that nurturing. Unannounced to me, I'm actually destroying the very relationship because I have hostility towards women. I have hostility towards my mama. I watched my mama stub her toe at 2 a.m. changing my brother's diaper. But then at 5 a.m, she's awake getting dinner and stuff ready for dad. And I'm thinking he has no compassion, no concern, no nothing. She just served him with a broken toe. I'm actually establishing hostility towards women because my mom, she allowed this and she allowed that. So I think the same way we are learning all those other things besides marriage, there need to be people in the church or wherever talking about the positive attributes and reasons for marriage. It needs to be just as talk about why you shouldn't get married. There needs to be more talk and support about marriage and get back to that. So,
all right, man. Hey, I thank you so much for
opportunity.
Absolutely, man. I thank you so much for being here, and people will see you a lot coming up. Matter of fact, next Thursday, the doctor will be joining Coach K here on Thursdays to help you guys as much as you need to be helped. They're ready to hit the ground running. They've already talked today. They got their plan together, and so I look forward to watching and being and just listening in the background just to see what you guys are going to bring, man. And I appreciate you so much, bro. Thank you so much for your intellect, your perspectives, and I look forward to seeing what you and Coach K is going to cook up for us, man. I appreciate it.
Yes. Let's get at it.com. That's what let's LETS get GT at it.com, and drnakumbi.com is how you can find me. Thank you again, brother. You take care of yourself. I wish you and your family well.
All right, same to you, brother. And we'll see you soon, man.
Yes.
All right. All right, ladies and gentlemen, man, that's been another great show, man. I appreciate everybody that came through. I appreciate the Cash Apps. I didn't play anything for that Cash App. I'll end the show that way. But everybody that contributed in the chat is undefeated. Thank you so much. Thank you everybody that came on the panel, of course. And we'll continue to come up with some great shows like this, guys. Because it's just amazing to have these conversations with people who are not argumentative, but have a perspective, and their perspective is heard. They're not cut off. They're not yelled at or cursed out or anything like that, but just have a conversation about marriage. And I know the numbers tonight are not going to be as high because we weren't charging at each other tonight. We weren't going at each other tonight. And I know the numbers drop, and that tells you right there the temperature of where we are as a people, that we're more attracted to the destruction of ourselves than we are the building of ourselves. All right, guys, but marriage is a beautiful thing. I know Issa Hopeful said that marriage is not the thing, but it is. Marriage is the foundation of everything. And I think marriage is the foundation, sex is the journey, because it creates life, and that life keeps your legacy moving forward. So thank you guys so much. I appreciate the Real Precious. I Lady Di. I appreciate High Value Wives, Coach K, Mandrell, Mr. Bennett, my brother Hink. Shout out to him. He came on even though they have no power and they got serious storms going on in Kentucky. So prayers out to him. If you are praying people, please pray for our brother Hink as he's dealing with that supercell storm out there in Kentucky. And thanks to the doctor. Just thanks to everybody, man. Mr. Bennett, just everybody that came on and gave their perspectives. I appreciate you guys. You guys are amazing. And until next week. Oh, whoa. I got a new member in the building. All right. Pokeman said he became a new YouTube member, man. Thank you so much, man, for becoming a member. I appreciate you so much, brother. Quincy, I got all these members in here. They back to back. I got a member here. Pokeman just became a new member. Information Man is a member. Thank you for being here tonight. Also, Quincy is a member as well. He's been a member since day one. Quincy been rolling with me since day one. Quincy also said that you always have great shows, brother. Thank you so much, man. I appreciate that. Let's see. Information Man said, "Damn, I missed the show." Don't worry about it, man. We'll continue to have some good shows, man. I promise you. We'll have some more where you can come on. But Pokeman, thank you for becoming a new member, man. And for that, I'll play a little something. Then I'll play our outro, and we'll be out of here. Here we go. Thank you so much for giving me that. Here we go. All right, man. Thank you guys so much. I appreciate it. Until Tuesday of next week, guys. When we come back with Talk That Talk Tuesday with another great show, with another great panel. We'll see you guys then. Until then, appreciate you guys. Much love to you guys. Peace.